Hey, it's an all new episode of Yeah, I've Played. As always, it is Matt Hall, and
Jordan Hill.
that's right, two guys playing games, talking about the games they played.
It's our entire relationship.
The internet's never seen anything like this before.
No, it's groundbreaking what we're doing here. We're pioneers.
Hey, I got an idea. What if we mix drugs and alcohol with the experience?
Yeah, right. Hell yeah, dude. Cheers to that.
So last time around, we started our discussion on Alan Wake Deuce, and we got up through, I believe, Return 7
Yes,
in
so.
Saga's campaign.
Or we might have even gone into Return 8.
We may have touched on it. We didn't get too deep into it.
Yeah, we didn't get too deep into it.
Yeah. And it might seem like just moments ago for you because you're probably binging these videos back to back.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? It's only 10 hours.
Who doesn't want to see that?
But for us, it's been about a week since we last got together. And for me, it's been about a month and a few days since I beat the game last. Now, I've been replaying it, but I haven't gotten to the ending yet. But I have watched the ending a few times.
Okay, there you go.
Read about it. I feel like I'm ready to engage in this discussion. And I will say, having seen the ending multiple times now, I definitely don't have any sort of new conclusions. It really feels just as...
just as kind of confused and
yeah.
left in the dark, yeah.
Yeah. Although I have been finding new questions to ask. And of course, if you have questions, ask them down below. I won't respond, but I will.
Matt never answers any comments.
So today we are going to talk about Alan's campaign, which is known as Initiation. And again, in the previous video, we covered most of Saga's campaign. We also covered the gameplay, mechanics, sound, all the kind of...
The basics.
what it was like to experience the game. But now we're talking about the lore. And more about what it was like to experience the game.
Yes.
So, Initiation 1. You get control of Alan after, I think, completing the... What is it called? Hometown Girl, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Hometown Girl? Local Girl.
Local Girl. Hometown Heroes.
Sorry, it was Thanksgiving. I was back home. I was seeing all those girls I left behind.
Hometown girls.
All those hometown girls. And I was going, God, if only just for one night. I wanted to ask you to the prom back in the day, but I didn't have the...
We could make up for so much lost time tonight.
I'm kidding. I'm happily married, and I would never go back home.
You don't miss your hometown at all. No.
So, wow, that's a stiff drink. It feels good. I'm just trying to put myself back in the mindset I was in when I first took over as Alan, because you start as Saga, and by the time I got done with the first three missions, of course I was excited to get into Alan's campaign, and you have the choice to transfer or not.
Right, pretty quickly in the Alan campaign too.
Yeah,
you have the option to switch back to Saga.
Yeah. If you're like, okay, I'm not quite ready for this.
Yeah.
But man, it was just like I was really feeling like this is pretty great already. Like I was completely like engrossed in Saga's story and the gameplay style for her whole thing. And I don't know, like as much as I was pumped to get back into Alan, I was like, wow, they really kind of made like two complete experiences that really stand on their own, as well. I kind of
going into it, I honestly kind of thought that I'd be like just waiting to get back to the Alan sections, you know what I mean? And like, cause I'm not super into like mystery games, you know what I mean, necessarily. And like, I like solving puzzles, but like, I thought it was going to be much more heavy into like solving the case in Saga's thing and making sure you're actually putting the right clues in the right section, which like, it's kind of true, but you can't really get it wrong. You can't get it wrong.
You can't get it wrong. I mean? You can just get,
you can just kind of get like, no, that's not it.
You can be mistaken for a moment, but you can't progress in the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of thinking I'd just kind of be like, okay, let's get to Alan's part. But I was feeling the same by the time I got there. I was like, this is really good. I don't really know how they're going to make Alan's section any better, or how. I was excited to see how it was going to be different, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that ultimately they really like knocked it out of the park with,
oh my god,
like just creating immediately a very distinct experience, like just visually.
And even gameplay wise.
Yeah, definitely. Like the core movement was, identical pretty much, but it was, you had to. I found that I never really used the flares as Saga, which I maybe said this last episode, but there were several times where it was like super useful to have the flares as Alan because you were just getting flanked.
It was almost necessary
groups,
as Alan. Whereas like with Saga, I used it a couple times to like solve a puzzle or like destroy, like if you come up to like the big bundle of dark presences, you know what I mean? Like holding up furniture. Or like when I used it in the Mulligan and Thornton boss fight. But otherwise, I didn't really use the flares at all as Saga. But as Alan, it was like I was constantly going through flares. And you get the flare gun as Alan too, which is pretty sick.
Yes, limited ammo, but pretty awesome to use, especially when you have a couple rooms where there's like 8 enemies.
Yeah, there's like a couple moments that'll come up where like you're on a stage and suddenly there's just like 8 guys in front of you and you're like, oh, fuck. Take 5 out at once.
Yeah. So...
And the combat's kind of totally different in this whole section. Not to get like into it right away, but like you're almost constantly questioning whether or not you're about to be attacked.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I found myself conserving flashlight charges way more in the Alan playthrough. Having to like be careful about it and make sure that like I wasn't overusing it and like I don't know. Whereas Saga, I was never really worried about that.
Did we really touch at all on Alan's like angel lamp mechanic?
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to it when we talk about the lamp. So Alan is basically, being interrogated, and he's like, wait a minute. I remember. And you go into a puddle. You come out of the puddle. It's Alan. He's in the green room of a talk show.
So, huh?
I go, if this isn't Late Night with Conan O'Brien, I'm going to be so pissed. And it wasn't. I was pissed. Because Conan's like the best.
Conan's the best. Conan's the goat of Tonight shows.
Yeah.
Late night shows.
I would say young Letterman was the king, and he passed the crown on to Conan.
I don't know. Young Letterman I didn't like sometimes. He was kind of a dickhead sometimes.
That's very true. That's very true. He was very antagonistic, and Conan really wasn't so much on stage antagonistic.
Yeah, he wasn't, at least directly.
He became more so as he got older.
Yeah, a little bit, but like even then, it was like he was better at making it funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Softening it a little bit by having it be a joke.
True.
And not a direct attack, you know?
True. True. Letterman was meaner. But anyway, it wasn't either of those guys. It was a whole other guy.
No, it was a different guy entirely.
It wasn't even a real guy.
No, it wasn't a real guy.
It was like a fake, it was like an actor from the, it's like a
character in the game. Yeah. It's a made up, it's fictional.
You're at Late Night with Mr. Door. Mr. Door has been a character we've been speculating about for several years because he was mentioned in Control.
Yep.
And it's like, I think I've already revealed this in another video at some point, but I'm
sure in one of your many deep lore videos.
Well, I kind of felt weird talking about it, but the character of Mr. Door is clearly inspired by Martin Hatch from Quantum Break.
Yes, rest in peace, Lance Reddick.
And Lance Reddick, I do believe, was at some point tied on to this role in some way because you can find his image in the game files and the placeholder files. And it's like, I don't think they would use him as a placeholder image if they didn't have an agreement with him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I understand they were shooting around January. I think he died in March or April.
Yeah, it was in the spring when he died.
I don't know where he was at toward the end of his life. I just don't know anything about his final days, final months.
Yeah, no, not really.
And so,
the Resident Evil show came out, you know what I mean? Like right before he passed, and who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure when that was filmed.
Yeah, God only knows. So.
And I also could barely watch a full episode of it.
Yeah, I didn't see any of it.
As much as I love Lance Reddick as an actor, he was, he was one of the best parts of that show from what I did watch. But it was not
a good show.
I just it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone liked it, but it seemed like
some people did, but it seemed like overall it was like a critical big panned.
I'm not sure who it was for, because it was like, let's make a show about Resident Evil, but like make it about anything but what those games are about.
Yeah.
I guess all the games are about the power of friendship in a way. So that you had that through line.
Yeah, you got that.
It's David Harewood is the actor who's portraying Mr. Door now, but I do. Yeah. After I was speculating like, maybe Lance was tied on. He tied one on.
Yeah.
He was, attached to the project is what I'm trying to say. I think for a time, but it clearly didn't work out. And I'm just saying that based on there's been some insider talk confirming that was the thing, and that's like, maybe like a little bit of like a blind item kind of thing. It's like, right. But seeing him in the files, that was the clinch for me.
That was very cool. I like seeing that when that got posted in the Discord channel. I was like, oh hell yeah, confirmed. Yeah.
Which someone we talk more about Chester Blessed and the Blessed cult that like a little bit later, like Larry or Barry has joined up with them.
Oh,
find out
yes,
emails.
yes. Uh-huh.
And they're like a paracriminal organization, from Control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What if Chester Blessed is Paul Serene?
Welcome. Tonight marks a momentous occasion. For years we have been building towards this day. Years of planning.
Yeah.
Could totally happen.
It could happen because the names aren't like Blessed and Serene aren't the same. You know what I mean? But it's like
there's enough. They're close in a way.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a I don't know. It's like a slant rhyme. You know what I mean? Where it's like not quite, but you're like, I can see it. Okay, that's fair. I'm excited for it. You mentioned, I think, in your stream that you think Control 2 is effectively going to be like the unofficial Quantum Break sequel as well.
It feels like it really could be.
And I think it's going to touch on too, because not to get ahead of ourselves, but Estevez mentions when she's talking about like backup coming to Cauldron Lake and stuff like that, that there's troubles going on at HQ. And obviously she's not referring to the troubles going on in Control, because Control takes place in 2016?
2019.
2019 is when it takes place. And it like says that Quantum Break was 2016. Control's 2019. And like it's Remedy's good at like kind of being... The timeline is accurate to when the game's released.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Alan Wake, for one, is set in 2010. This is Alan Wake 2 set in 2023. It's cool as hell. But, so obviously they're not referring to those issues, I would imagine, in the FPC, unless they're still going on 4 years later.
Yeah.
Which they could be. So I imagine there's something, and I'm hoping Control 2 is going to kind of be another one like this, where it brings all of them together again, where you're kind of, maybe it'll be set in this time. You know what I mean? I don't know. And you'll get to see, or at least you'll get to read about and see about what happened during this period.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like more so than even the actual appearances of the characters, is just like being able to fill in the timeline.
Yes.
Kind of like just knowing like these are real people with real lives, like having real things happen to them. And, it's all fake, but
these are characters. It's fictional characters.
But I mean to say, like, it's cool when someone has the ability to go, oh, well, then this happened in their life and this is where they were then. And it's like, it's in the Bible. It's in many great works of literature that span hundreds of years and generations. Like, it's not like uncommon for fiction to do that. It just seems like less of a thing in modern fiction, because so much stuff is more short form.
It's in a lot of
relative
and like
to
high fantasy and stuff like that.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like Tolkien, or like what's that one guy? Robert Smith, or not that's name's Robert Jordan. Like people like that, like in their novels, where it like spans such a time, and you're like, okay, well, like this is what Gandalf was doing while they were here. You know what I mean? Because it's cool as hell. I love it.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
It is,
and it opens up with this, because it's not a complete work. It opens up so many what ifs. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know.
So Alan's in the talk show green room. He sees himself on the TV screen, and then this represents like something happening in this other part of the story. But several times throughout the game, you are Alan in one scene, and then you see yourself on a screen or a projection or something.
Yep.
And then you become that version of Alan.
Yes.
Now, they both exist simultaneously.
Yes, that's implied multiple times.
Your perspective shifts, but
it seems as though you're still in, because right now you'll see yourself obviously on the TV and you like hold A or whatever, and you're like, and then you're on the talk show, like through the portal with Mr. Warlandor or whatever, you know what I mean? And whatever the hell I can't remember the name of the talk show.
It's Between Two Doors.
Between Two Doors.
No,
okay, that would be great.
It's called In Between.
In Between. Okay, Between Two Doors would be great. But
you ever go to funnyordie.com?
It's implied that like you're still in the green room.
You know the angry landlord, but it's actually Will Ferrell's baby.
You know, it's Will Ferrell's 3-year-old that he's making say fuck.
Say the N-word for some reason.
Yeah. And the R word.
That might be what it is. I just remember hearing slurs like, go, whoa.
I think it's the R word. I don't think she says the N word.
It's funnier for me to say she did.
Will Ferrell's daughter gets canceled. She's canceled. She was set up to fail. Oh, okay.
Anyway. I don't really understand yet what I think of that, because it's just like, because the player perspective changes, it's like, well, what happens? Now, one thing to note is that when Alan sees himself, anytime he shifts, that version of him that's waiting is like almost just like waiting to be inhabited. It's always kind of just stunned, frozen, kind of just standing there.
Yeah.
Not sure what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
And then when he leaves,
it could just be like that could just be as simple as it's a video game. You know what I mean? And I understand that a lot of stuff in Remedy, it's not usually.
I know it's impossible to draw the line.
Like, because so much stuff is intentional. But I think in this case, it could just be, it's a video game.
It could be, yeah. But because
I think the idea is that you in the green room, once you're quote unquote like not inhabiting that Alan anymore, you're just watching this on the TV. That's
what I'm assuming.
Yeah. So who knows?
But then you zap back out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Not always. You don't always zap back out. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't.
No, sometimes it seems like you zap back in later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very confusing. Mm. Anyway, was it a thrill to see Mr. Door?
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And it was a thrill to see Sam Lake.
Now, noticing a little chip on my glass.
Oh no, don't cut your little lips.
Oh, maybe I will. Maybe I'll cut my little pussy lips.
Maybe we'll cut out that whole section.
No. Do you think that this Sam Lake is the same Sam Lake who appeared on the talk show in Alan Wake 1?
I don't remember the talk show from Alan Wake 1. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm sorry. I can't comment on that because I can't.
I think it is because they ask him to do the face. And then
they ask him to do the Max Payne face.
They do it in the first game too.
Okay. Then yeah, it's probably the same one.
It's probably the same one. Hinting that he was Alex Casey even back then, even though I don't think they say it directly ever in that scene.
That's fair.
But I mean to say he was like the actor portraying Alex Casey
the whole time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's obviously it's suggested that there's already a movie out.
Well, that's what I mean. I think Sam Lake, the actor in-game universe, is from reality.
Okay. I think Casey. I get what you're saying. Sorry, I'm having it. Took me a second.
Yeah, I think Alex Casey.
You think that Sam Lake is real in the Alan Wake universe? Like he exists in the world, just like Saga or Link.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's a Dark Place iteration of him as well that Alan sees, but I think that's based on, the real actor. But here's the one thing I noticed.
Do you think there's Alex Casey and Sam Lake in the real world?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Saga Anderson says like, Alex Casey, like he hates those books, but he really hates the movies.
Yeah. That's fair. So it's someone who looks exactly, it could be someone.
Because I'm assuming that's part of it. Because
it looks exactly.
You never see Alex Casey, the character, in reality. Because you see the lunchboxes, but they never put his image on them.
And Alan does go when he sees Sam Lake in the talk show. He goes, "Shoot, that's incredible."
Yeah,
you look exactly how I pictured him. Yeah.
This whole talk show scene is really good. I love how when Door is introducing Alan, he has such a deep and like almost like threatening presence, but it's very jovial at the same time.
He does a good job. It's like very cult leader-esque, his like the energy he has, where it's like he is very charismatic, you know what I mean? And he sounds very excited, but like you're kind of a little afraid.
There's like a little thunder behind everything he says, where it's like
at any moment this could turn from him laughing at you to like, you know, him laughing with you to him laughing at you.
Yeah,
you
it seems very uneasy.
Yes.
It's like like just like a very loose veil across the whole performance.
Yeah, and like I love too the way that he kind of goes along with you when you're kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? He's like, I get that it might be over. You know what I mean? He kind of tries to play it off. And it almost feels like if you don't go with it, he might not stay as, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what we find later in the game too. He's like, you'd be best to fucking play your role, Mr.
Yeah,
Wake.
exactly. Yeah. And that's implied like in, I don't know, he just implies that right away.
He's doing a lot of yes and kind of stuff with Wake, even though Wake's like, what is going on? He's like, of course, what is going on? Oh, you.
He does a good job.
The scene ends. What?
What?
Basically, you gotta walk around the whole backstage area of this big TV studio, which I think in itself is maybe like a nod to a cut section of the first game. There was like a weird like dream theater set like that looked like sort of similar to a TV studio where like people's dreams would play out in front of an audience.
Okay.
It felt similar to me.
From the first game, you
said?
Oh, okay. I was like, that's why I was like, that's not ringing any bells.
I just wonder if it like was like an iteration of that idea. If it felt
could be
like that.
You know what I mean? Maybe they like
just
they were like, hey, let's use it. This wasn't great when we did it. Maybe we can do it better.
Yeah. The Mr. Door dressing room has a book from Dr. Darling on it.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
What is it? It's like Between Two Worlds or whatever, or something like that.
It's My Theory of Many Worlds.
Might be something like that. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep making the Between Two.
I think it's funnyordie.com
by Casper Darling.
By Casper Darling.
Forward by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay.
You gotta go put a door code in. Of course, it's 665.
Yeah, because you also enter the old Gods of Asgard dressing room.
And they're young. They're the young versions of themselves. And one of their dead band members is back. Fat Bob Balder. Who is not all that fat. Let's be serious. Maybe by Finnish standards. I don't know.
Who knows? They seem like a slender people.
They seem like slender people. They scare me.
I'm terrified of them.
I've seen them in the woods at night.
That's where they live.
Yes. They should be scared of me. I was the one prowling outside of their homes.
I was the one masturbating in the woods.
Yeah. We'll cut that part because I don't want to be incriminated for that again. No. That keeps coming back to haunt me. Because I did it for real.
You're the public masturbation charge you have from...
It makes the jokes less funny after I've been convicted. You know what I mean?
They're not quite as funny when it's real.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Jesus Christ. I have no criminal record, actually.
Same.
See if that changes after tonight. Eventually, you see a door with a poster on it. It's this fucking same kind of thing you saw in Control outside the janitor's room.
Yeah.
He had a poster of himself on the door. Ati is in a room mopping. He doesn't have his mop bucket. He's just mopping. I noticed that when I went back.
He doesn't in this scene?
No. He's just mopping without a bucket. I'm pretty sure he is. I could be wrong about that.
Who knows?
You got something, Tom, in the basement.
He said, Tom, I left something for you in the basement. Sounds like Danny Meyer to me. Did you ever meet Danny Meyer?
No, I don't know who that is.
He's a Meyer's cheese guy who works at a...
Oh, yes, I've met him many times. Yeah, I've seen his place driving to Hogansburg for shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy, but he sounds kind of like Ati.
Total. I know what you mean. Yep. Yes. Very, very jolly guy.
Yes.
I love that such a jolly man makes cheese curds for a living.
He's got in total 7.5 fingers. If you look, he's just missing half of I'd say 4 or 5 fingers.
He probably lost them in a horrific cheese making accident.
Yeah, either with the cow step on your hand or chomp on you.
I can't imagine having my hand bitten off by a cow.
I can't even come close to it.
I can imagine a lot of other things. Bloop, bloop, bloop. That was a little thought bubble forming. One of the worst Trashberg bits I did was I had footage of Sam like just like sleeping on my couch, like sitting up just like this, like and I did a little thought bubble animation and had him dreaming of a little tiny chihuahua humping a stuffed animal. I believe it was a dog humping. That's my memory of it.
Dog humping a stuffed animal.
That's my memory of it. Dan called it "What Dreams May Come."
Like the Robin Williams movie.
Yes, which brought me to tears when I first saw it.
It's a good one.
Very powerful
Cuba
film.
Gooding's in that one.
I was a teenager, but I liked it a lot. Would I like it now as a grown man?
It's okay. I saw it at like 25. It was all right.
So, the whole TV studio thing, pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool, and because it works similarly to, because I believe you have to go through it 3 times.
At least, yeah. You
I
come
believe
back,
it's 3,
it's flooded the third time.
And it would make sense that it's 3 because that's like the ritual.
I think you do have to go back there again, but you show up there 3 times.
Yes, you show up there 3 separate times.
But you go down to the basement.
Mm-hmm.
You start to realize that there's a very unique mechanic in Alan's playthrough, which is you get the lamp in the shoebox, and that lamp is it's Tom Zane's angel lamp, which you can use to take light from one light source
And you go,
transport it to another, lamp or light or bulb or whatever.
yep.
When you do, it changes the room.
Yeah, it changes the scene around you. Very cool.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool environmental puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a dual environmental puzzle thing going on between the light works and the plot board stuff.
Yep, which we'll get to
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just very interesting to learn that, man, like this doesn't feel like Saga's campaign at all.
No, it was very cool that it was so distinct right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of worried that it would just feel like I was playing the same game as 2 different characters. But like I really didn't think Remedy was going to disappoint, and they didn't at all. You know what I mean? Like they made it, I don't know, they did such a good fucking job with this game. Game of the year.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for the first part. You get the lamp, and then you run into like a room full of TVs with your face on them, and then you go
Yep.
put your light into the TV.
And then you go
Next chapter.
you go up some little stairs, you find yourself, you've gone out a little like little sub street
Yeah.
stairwell. You come up those stairs. Now you're in like fake New York City.
New York City.
Pretty brilliant seeing the street for the first time.
Yeah, it was a very cool reveal.
Even though I've seen it in the trailers and shit, like prior to that, it was still
Yeah.
like, wow, like this feels crazy. And it's not even that big. It's just a small hub world. There's a few locked sections, but it's kind of just like 5 streets.
Yeah, there's
you
like
know?
a handful of spots where if you start walking, the dark presence becomes like so overwhelming you can't see anything.
Which is a great flip on the invisible wall.
Because same with Saga, where if you try to leave like Bright Falls by like one of the roads, she'll be like, "Can't keep going this way. I got to get back to the got to get back to the investigation. Can't give up now."
I'd love to walk away and just. I know it's bingo night somewhere here.
It's always bingo night at the Valhalla Nursing Home.
Initiation 2 is called Casey. That's where you go now.
Casey.
First, you got to find the light source, the Caldera Street light source, and you got to find a second one. And because what you need to do is...
Doesn't the phone ring?
Oh, that's probably the first thing that happens, yeah.
Yeah, I think right when you get up there, the phone rings.
Every loop starts with a phone call. You
Yes.
get the pay phone ringing, which one is reminiscent of the hotline from...
Yep.
But also, much more for me, reminiscent of the mysterious phone calls you'd get in Max Payne.
In Max Payne, yes, which is cool
the
because
payphones.
it's also also in Max Payne because they mention in the I believe you can find some. Oh, it's when you talk to Sheriff Breaker, but he says it's New York City, but obviously it's not New York City. It's like a fictional version of New York City. You know what I mean? And then obviously that's what Max Payne is. Max Payne's in New York City, but it's not New York City.
Yeah, Max Payne also has its own fake version of New York City and address unknown.
Right. So I don't know. fucking, I don't know. It's cool.
It's so funny.
I
because
think it's supposed to be like the mysterious caller in Max Payne more than the hotline calls.
Right. But still, the hotline calls are still reminiscent.
Yes.
Like, are still like, you're like, when you get the hotline calls, you're like, oh, it's kind of like when I got the weird calls in Max Payne.
Yeah.
You know, like especially because the ring is similar.
Yeah, they all have, I think they probably just use the same.
They could. I haven't checked the file, but
Check the lav.
I think it's the kind of thing where if you haven't played Max Payne, I don't think you would. I think you'd jump to Control as the reference. But
Yes.
man, it's so funny that they're able to just like be like, well, you got a phone call in Max Payne. What if you got a phone call in this game? And I'm like, yes, I'm getting a phone call on a payphone. Whoa! But they do. I'm realizing that the reason that I dig it so much is because the way they write and the way they present their stories, it gives minor elements like that this like mythical quality that when you see it come up again, it's like imbued with all this extra meaning that like is not the same as, oh, it's the guy from before. Which like I don't like, it's like callbacks and connected universes and everything are not that uncommon. I think it's uncommon to do it in such a way that feels so grandiose and so impactful. You know,
but I think it's because they've just spent so much time building the story. You know.
Yeah, and also I think they have the benefit of working directly from very classic, centuries old storytelling. Like they're retelling myths and
like
folklore.
epic poems
and
stuff.
And it's
like
like it. You know, when you got like history on your side like that, it's hard to fuck it up. A lot of my favorite books and movies and things I've consumed that I'm like, wow, that's such a powerful story. I go, it's like, oh, this is a retelling of this, and it's like, oh,
yeah, well, because that's why those things have stood the test of time, though.
Yeah,
like that's why we're still aware of them now, literal centuries, or in some cases, like a millennia later,
because they're magic.
They're magic, baby. Or are they just
really good
by objects of power?
It's impossible
reality influenced by OOPs.
So you gotta, you do a whole bunch of shit here. You're like, you gotta like go up into the rooftop areas, and there you see Alex Casey, a big billboard for a Casey film, and you get this where you start to get your first echoes.
Yeah, you start finding your first echoes,
which are little visual puzzles, perspective puzzles where you got to line up a black circle with a white circle and create an eclipse.
Yep,
and then you see what is basically like a twisted version of Alex Casey's supposed 2013 investigation into a New York City murder cult.
Yes. But
it's also all of the supporting cast in Casey's story are characters repurposed from Saga's story.
Yeah, because you'll see, what are their names?
The Bookers.
The Bookers
Ed
pop
and
back up. Ilmo Koskela pops up later. I think that like two of the cops are Mulligan and Thornton, even though they're city cops,
the NYPD now. Officers.
Yeah. So it's like, it just kind of, at first I thought maybe it was suggesting that the Bookers were involved, but then you pointed out that Casey would have then obviously recognized them in the diner.
And also Ilmo kills himself.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So he wouldn't be around for this.
Yeah.
Good point. Good points.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Points.
No problem. Points for Matt. These don't count towards the ultimate game.
Are you doing Whose Line or what is this?
No.
Oh. And the points don't matter at all. Points don't count towards Ultimate Gamer?
Yes, that's what I said, yeah.
I thought you said towards the end of the game.
Oh, no.
And then I went back in my mind, I said, analyze that statement a second time.
I didn't think it was worth.
I know what I know. You're making reference to a video we made.
It may or may not.
May or may not.
Be seen by everyone.
May or may not. This was all pretty just... I'm just trying to put myself again back into like going up those ladders for the first time and like seeing the rain pouring off of the sides of the buildings. Like when you're up there, like the gutters on the billboard displays and everything. Just and we talked
about it in the like just like talking about the graphics in the first episode of this, but just the graffiti everywhere. I mean,
Very
so
good.
like so striking, especially in like the spots where you pass by and it is like the street lights just hitting it right, and there's like the rain coming down it, and it just looks so, I don't know, it looks so good in moments.
Yeah.
Or, like when you're going up and down like the stairwells in the buildings with all the
Looks so
graffiti,
good.
looks so fucking cool.
Those narrow
So cool.
hallways
Oh
with
my
like the
God,
single
yeah.
light bulb. It's so simple, but it works so well.
Yeah, I loved it.
Great use of colored lighting all throughout.
And a lot of this did remind me of like a lot of the scenes in here and like the camera angles especially reminded me a bit of Silent Hill 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
for
especially
sure.
like you were talking about earlier, but like the opening scene in I think Silent Hill 1 where you like enter into the alleyways and you're getting like chased through the alleys and stuff like that. Very
Yeah, that's
reminiscent
like
of those
right where
scenes.
things start to turn. You
Yeah.
get the first couple weird like camera angles, and you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, now I'm in for it now."
Yeah.
The goal here is to find 2 different light sources so you can transform what is essentially, I think, a big pile of garbage.
Yeah, it's literally just like you see the sign or whatever for Caldera Street Station,
Yeah.
but there's just a shit like cardboard and trash. And,
Yeah, but you want to get down to the subway station, which is, yeah, like you said, the Caldera Street Station. Caldera is, Caldera Lake, which is which
is it? I think a caldera is like a land form.
Cauldron Lake, yes.
Yeah, a cauldron lake, but a caldera is like a thing, which
It's
I
like
think
formed by a volcano.
yes, which I
Yeah.
think cauldron lake is in a caldera or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
There's an underground.
there's an underground.
There is an underground, and it is rising up. There is an underwater volcano there. That's
Yes.
the caldera. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you go down, and this is where you start to learn more about the case board. You get different scenes. You're like, oh, this could be good for the story, and you're seeing Alan's writing process. And basically, what you get is, different locations on the map are settings.
Yep.
And then you can use that setting to try out different scenes as you get more inspiration. You're like, oh, what if this scene occurred here? What
They're
if this scene
effectively
occurred
like
here?
little writing prompts that you have on like a sticky note or something. You know what I mean? You're like,
They are.
Oh, what if I took it in this direction and you tape it up, and then if you look to the right of the photos, you can see like the way that you write it, where you kind of branch off and you're trying out different things. You know what I mean?
And what I didn't notice until this most recent playthrough was, now I could be wrong about this, but I started to notice that the different writing prompts that you put on the scenes are different points in time in the same story.
Yes. That seems, yeah. I guess.
I noticed it because there's the later in the game when you're in the Ocean View Hotel.
Yep.
There's the room that is the rehearsal room or something, or like warm up room. I can't remember what it's called exactly.
Yeah, it's called a rehearsal room.
Okay.
Yep.
And when I put on I went out of my way to go back to that room to try the last word.
I tried to do it in every room to try
Yeah.
to, like every not every room, but every point on the plot board. You know what I mean? Like every scene, I tried to go back and try every single prompt.
And when I got in there, I was like, oh, I tried the last word. I was like, oh, it doesn't seem that different. Like there's still like just bodies in the ground. The room is all fucked up. And I noticed there are little evidence tags all over the floor,
bodies,
which is like, of course, that's,
Right.
first the scene, like the murders hadn't occurred.
Yeah.
Then there was the summoning, and then the murders occurred. And then you were sawing the the aftermath of that, where the police had
investigation,
come and
yeah.
cleaned up and cases investigating. There's the evidence on everything. So that made me kind of realize, like, oh, like I'm seeing this same area at different points in the story as I use these words. Because at first I was like, oh, these are just different takes on like what could happen here in the story. Like, oh, maybe I could write this, maybe I could write that, which is how it works. But also, I think he's pulling it literally from time, like from points in time.
Yeah.
I don't think Alan's aware of that happening.
I don't know if he is, but I feel like I noticed that in the specifically in the derailed train car stage when it's like burnt with the torchbearer. You go from I think
Yes.
just like God, I can't remember the names of it, but it's like cult something. It's like summoning ritual to torchbearers or something. You know what I mean? And it's in one of them, all the people are already burnt. It's like over. You know what I mean? There's nobody in there, and then the other one, it's empty and nobody's burnt yet. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I first like picked up on, oh, okay, you're just kind of moving the story along. You know what I mean? Or sometimes moving the story backwards in certain cases.
Yeah.
Rather than trying out different, because it kind of implies that he's trying out different storylines, but I also kind of saw it as like he was looking for inspiration.
Yes,
on
he's
where to
looking
take
for
his
inspiration
story.
on where to take his story.
Yeah.
Because he's
So this
writing a
is
story.
already a story
Yes,
that's written
and
out
he's
that
kind of
he's
just
doing.
looking at this for inspiration to put
Yes.
into the book he's writing.
Right. Okay.
And that's happening simultaneously. So it almost seems like, it's not, it's so, I don't know. It's so funny. It's like, it's so hard to comprehend because it's happening on so many different planes at the same time.
Yeah.
And time is doing like, what is this move called? But it's just,
You ever seen this move? No, I mean, I think it's also pointing more to the fact that time doesn't work the same way it does. Like in the Dark Place, time doesn't work the same way it does in our reality or in the reality of the game. You know what I mean?
Damn. That's fucked up. Dude.
Spit the water everywhere.
So, the point of all these different investigations you do, well, we skipped a part.
Well, I wanted to touch on an important part that we skipped even before you get to Caldera Street Station.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. We'll just mention it now, but you can run into a familiar face.
Yeah, you
while
have
you're
to, I
exploring.
think. Oh, you don't have to.
You don't have to. No.
No,
which
this is an optional
I
encounter.
thought was really interesting because the first time you encounter him, what you say is you hear a humming. Occasionally, you'll be walking around.
I'm talking about a different encounter.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Well, what are you talking about?
You go down an alley that's lit with green light.
Oh, yes.
I don't think you have to go down that alley at this point in the game. I could be wrong, but I think it's optional. I think you have to go there to go to the rooftop bar, but I don't think
you have to go there
time.
to get a light source.
Okay.
Because you need 2 light sources. To
Okay.
Get
Oh, and this is
Street
also
Station.
you do need to because that's how you get the. That's how you get the. Can we say that?
Can we say?
That's how you get the shooty bang bang. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. We went ahead of this.
Yes, we skipped over. It was a pretty big
one of the most massive parts of the game.
Yes, because you'll return to this moment again.
Yes, and it goes down a little bit differently next time.
Uh-huh.
But you are going down the sidewalk.
You're going down an alley.
Mm-hmm. No, you start on the sidewalk, you turn down an alley.
Yeah, sorry, okay. You head down some stairs.
It's street level.
I thought you walked by a little
there is
TV.
a little stairwell. There's a little
You
stairwell.
walk by a little
there's
TV
a little
playing
stairwell.
your face,
Yep.
and then you walk down the stairwell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we played this game.
Yep. We swear to God.
But the green light, I saw that green light, and I had already seen a glimpse of this scene in a trailer or something. But
Yep,
I was like, wow, the green light. It's like Valkyr.
In the trailer, this is where you see
Casey,
but in his Max Payne like tie and you know what I mean. He's in the Max Payne outfit.
It is the Max Payne 2 outfit.
Yeah,
straight up.
Just like it's exactly that. Yeah.
Which is so cool. They're just like, I don't know. They could have danced around it a little bit more, but they just gave him pretty much. I don't think there's any noticeable difference between the two outfits.
No, other than it just like looking better now because it's
Yeah.
20 years later. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It is like higher resolution textures.
Yeah. By now. Anyway.
And I didn't need to install a widescreen fix.
No. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. But you're walking down the alley, and suddenly Casey jumps out of the shadows and grabs you. He's like, "You're the blah."
You're the guy who's
like-
you're behind all of this.
And you're like, "Whoa, Casey! I just saw you a minute ago." And it's like, it's not the same Casey.
Yeah, you idiot. This isn't Sam Lake. I just saw you on the talk show. You're like, this isn't Sam Lake. This is Alex Casey.
Yeah. Pretty wild. He puts the gun up to you, and you see him almost profile you a little bit. Like, you get a glimpse into his like inner monologue, and then before this can go too far, there's like a red light and a weird cacophony around the corner.
Yep.
And Casey readies his weapon. He's like, "Get back!" And he goes around the corner. You hear some firing. You go over. Casey's dead. Casey's down the ground. It's not clear what killed him.
He implies it was you, though.
He does imply it was you.
But it's
And
also
then-
it's vague enough where it could just be like a generic you, kind of. You know what I mean? Like you could
Right.
still be
Or
speaking
it
to-
could have been Wake wrote something that killed him. That was unclear to me.
Yeah.
Because you see Casey, you see like, he's the echoes of himself at that point. You see his body on the ground, but the echoes of Casey are like around him discussing this.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, you pick up his gun and you're like, oh, I've taken on the role, I assume the role of the detective here.
Back into the fucking.
So now like Alan is doing his own murder investigation.
Yeah.
But he's also seeing echoes of Casey doing his murder investigation.
Yeah.
After Casey just got murdered in front of him.
So meta.
But yeah, I think it is somewhere around the region where you're exploring, finding the second light source up top.
Yep, you had
run into Tim Breaker for the first time.
Yeah, you hear someone humming, and even this you don't. This is one you don't have to do because when you first hear it, you go, "Is that really worth investigating that noise?" It's
yeah,
like, yeah. Obviously, who's not going to fucking go investigate the noise? But I like that you don't have to. I like that you could totally avoid this. You know what I mean? Like, I like that they have little stuff like this where it's like, it's
you could miss
supplemental. You could totally miss it. I missed the first one. In my first playthrough, my first encounter with him was in the Caldera Street Station instead of out in the city, like in the rooftops. And what I thought was cool about that is no matter when you interact with him the first time, it's the same interaction.
right.
You know what I mean? So you don't. It's not as though like, oh, you missed the first one, now you're at the second one when you see him the second time.
But then you'll miss the end of the chain of conversations that point, wouldn't you?
Which I'm excited to see in this playthrough. That
Wild.
Hopefully, I'm going to get there after.
Well, he's humming the Night Springs theme song, and he's got a case board that looks just like the chalkboard from Quantum Break.
Yep.
He lets you know he recognizes you.
Yep. He knows you.
He knows you from the dark place, as if he's been to the dark place before.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem surprised to see you, really.
No, not at all. No. And it seems as though he's kind of established himself a bit more here than you have, because it's weird.
He's literally mapping it out.
Yeah, but it's weird because it seems as though for Alan, the dark place changes, like the setting of it changes often.
Right. And what we've been told in previous, lore expeditions is that the dark place can look different to different people.
Yes, but he has the same map you have.
Right. And that's why I'm a little confused, like what actually is going on here. How it's a little more stable. This version
one
of
seems
Dark
much
Place.
more stable, yeah. Even though it does kind of change because you kind of unlock, you have to do certain things.
It does
to
change.
Get to
It does change, and it's unclear to me. Are other people cognizant of those changes, or is that just happening for Alan?
Yeah, that's fair.
It doesn't. And because Tim never really leaves his little chambers that he's in.
But it's suggested
until later in the game.
It's suggested that he does because he says, if you find any of my little stash boxes I've left around.
That's true.
So
That's true.
And obviously, how's he making the map if he's not wandering around?
Astral projection.
Who knows? Who knows? He doesn't seem to know his abilities. It seems like maybe he's doing that in his dreams. Because he says he sees... So on his little case board, in the center of it is a drawing of Mr. Door.
It's a police sketch.
Yeah, it's like a police sketch of Mr. Door. And it does a pretty good job. Looks exactly like him. And then branching off, it's like, Door put me here while I was in the very first interaction.
Yep. You were trying to give the manuscript pages to Saga.
Yep.
You were, he was. And then Mr. Door blinked him out into the dark place.
Yeah, and he's like, why'd he do that? What's his goal? Blah, blah, blah. And then the other one, it's like, been having dreams, seeing people that I know but aren't them. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Red-haired girl.
Right, which is like... I remember Paul Serene was always talking about the mysterious woman in his notes. It's like, who is it? I think that's the same thing. It's talking about Jesse. It's talking about Beth
Jesse
Wilder.
Faden.
It's Beth Wilder. It's Jesse Faden. It's the same person.
Same person.
Same person, but not.
Uh-huh.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Great interactions. Great interactions all.
Yes, all around.
But, going back, so that's all before you get down into the subways. And then, you can find him throughout the subways. You can find Tim Breaker all over the place. And every time you see him, he's got a little bit more on his board. It's very cool.
And it's cool, too, because it's just more like lore. It's more like exposition of the story. It doesn't really...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sick. I love it.
It's a good thing for little Remedy nerds.
Uh-huh. Like us.
So you go deeper into the subway, and what you're looking for is called a murder site.
Yes, you need to find the site of a murder site because it seems as though those murder sites are like it's almost as though like the wall between the dark place and the reality is like thinner there maybe. or it's
they seem like the sources of the overlaps.
Yeah,
somehow.
overlaps. Yeah, I couldn't think of that word. Yeah, but it's like it seems like that's where the overlaps exist.
It does seem like all the people you find murdered are not seems like all the murder victims are the bosses in their respective overlaps.
Yes, which is cool as hell.
It's like I still don't quite understand how it all connects, like what the logic of it is.
Yeah,
I see ways it connects, but not in a way where I go, yes, I understand the machine. It's more like, oh wow, it's kind of like this, it's kind of like this, it's kind of like this. It's like, okay, there is some logic there.
Yeah, but it's hard to figure out what the connecting what the string is.
Yeah, and you find out that Scratch is the killer.
Yes,
unless it was you. Which also is a major theme of Address Unknown and Max Payne 2. This whole game is like, as much as it's like teasing like Quantum Break stuff and Control stuff, it's also like this like pseudo like Max Payne reboot.
Yeah, you can tell that it's with all the Alex Casey stuff, you can tell that it seems like they were very excited. Yeah, they finally got to kind of be like, okay, we can finally come out and just say it without really directly saying it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's exciting. They were excited, clearly.
So there's no real boss fights in Alan's campaign.
No, you run into like occasional like swarms.
Yeah, and you do have situations where the Dark Presence
chases you,
where it's like the classic version of the Dark Presence, like almost like the tornado but you saw in your dream in the first game. It's just that big force.
It's just a big wall of chaos coming at you.
But you do eventually make your way all through the subway station, all sorts of puzzles. You're flipping reality, you're checking things out, you're doing your light, you're doing your plot board. But you find the murder site, and it's Nightingale. He's murdered, he's on like an altar, he's in a forest. And you can kind of see like you are, I believe, in the overlap at that point, or near the overlap.
You're near the overlap. Well, because it's weird, because it's like when you're down there, you're in like a cave, you know what I mean, where you are, but you keep getting flashes where as you're walking, your like vision has like almost the forest put over it, you know what I mean?
Like an overlap.
Yeah, but
like the images are literally overlapping.
But it's almost as though you're walking in Saga's footsteps in those moments, you know what I mean? Like so like you're both there at the same time.
It's so hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know, it's weird. And especially because we mentioned it in our last video, obviously Saga, when she summons Alan on the beach or whatever, she actually summons him like days before. So I'm still just so confused about how time works here. Because if you're there at like the same time, quote unquote, you know what I mean? Is it just the fact of like when he restarts the loop, he starts at the same point in time? And then like as he gets to this point in the loop, I don't know.
It's hard to say, but also like if initiation occurred before Return.
Yeah. Because Return is a sequel to
But Return is like clearly based on Initiation in a lot of ways.
Well, it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to... I don't know. I don't have a big enough brain, I guess.
When you leave the murder site, you're basically getting into Initiation Chapter 3, which is Haunting. So you go back out into the streets. You have to traverse out of the subway. You get back to the phone. It's the caller. It's a mysterious caller again. First time around, the caller gave you a subway ticket. Told you to go down to the subway. This time they go, hey, go check on Alice at Parliament Tower. Which is your apartment tower from the first game. Wasn't called that until Alan Wake Remastered, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The caller is Thomas Zane.
Yes.
You don't know that yet, though.
No, it's not implied yet.
You haven't met him.
No. And you haven't gotten there yet, by just yelling at him.
So... you basically spend most of this chapter just kind of exploring Parliament Tower.
Yeah, exploring the hotel. Or it is an apartment. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And you open the door. You get off the elevator. Open the apartment door. You're blasted by waves of light.
Yep.
It's all Alice's camera equipment going off in your face. She's got triggered for motion control, motion detector, to catch images of Mr. Scratch.
Yeah.
Who you find out later was probably you, but I'm still confused on how that all works.
Well, because Mr. Scratch is
Alan with the dark presence inside of him, right?
Yes, but then it's also weird because at this moment you were Alan. You know what I mean?
I know.
So maybe I don't know. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Truly.
Because even in this moment you don't like interact with Alice at any point. You know what I mean?
No.
In any other manner. Where it's like it's implied that you're haunting her, quote unquote. You know what I mean here, but like you don't see that.
But that had been happening for years, it seems.
Yes, but you're not actively doing it here when it takes
Right,
a
but
photo
you
of
might be
you
just
scratch.
seeing like an echo of that time. It's so hard to say because you're not actually in her apartment.
No, and
You're in like a approximation of it.
it implies that when you get to the rest of the apartment, it's after when she's taking photos. She's no longer taking photos. It's implied.
Right, and so you see that she's working on a photo exhibition called The Dark Place, which is exploring her connection to her loss of her husband and
Yep.
the subsequent sort of like haunting that she's been experiencing and all this darkness and pain. And every time you complete the loop, you get a little bit more of her exhibition. Here, you just kind of see, she's been working on it and she's recorded a series of like, a confessional, the real world confessional style sit down interviews.
Yes.
Just, talking directly to the camera.
It's just been hard in the house lately.
Yeah.
So many personalities clashing.
I'm 22 and like, I really don't know what I'm doing with my life.
It's just like, I kind of want to just like get fucked up and fuck.
And like, I wish like Tamika like wouldn't bring guys like over every night and like, I have to share a room with her and it's like really uncomfortable. I wind up sleeping on the couch.
Anyway. It's not quite what Alice is dealing with.
No, it's not. You're right. You're right. I was way off base there. So one thing that bugged me out, and who knows, this could be some sort of transmedia thing, but you get a memory card, an SD card.
Yep.
You put it in a little camera. The footage it plays has VHS like tape wrinkles on it.
Yeah.
Maybe for some reason she ripped a VHS tape and put it on the SD card and puts it back in a camcorder.
Here's why I think maybe, and it's only because I noticed it. It's something that they mentioned at the very beginning of Control, which is that like only certain technologies are allowed in the oldest house. You know what I mean? Like they have to record on film. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like a film style projector and stuff like that. And VHS is like technically kind of a film. You know what I mean? If you're recording with like a VHS camcorder.
It's magnetic tape, but yeah.
But it's a similar concept, right?
It's closer to film than it is ones and zeros.
Exactly, yeah. So maybe this is just how she's been, because obviously I'd imagine she's using film cameras to take these photos. You know what I mean? That's how it seems. You find
You find her dark room.
the dark room later. Yep. So maybe that's just how she's doing all of it. Maybe this stuff. Maybe she can only, and maybe she's because I notice also there's
She's
a
trying to go analog.
Yeah, there's a go analog, baby. You're so postmodern. And you go like you notice there's a lamp behind her in every one of these little confessional videos. At certain points it flickers. At certain points it's out completely. At other points it like comes on later in the video. You know what I mean? And I was trying to pick up some significance there. I couldn't notice anything, unfortunately. But maybe
Sorry, what?
I didn't notice any significance with the lamp being on or off or flickering. Like I didn't notice any correlations. You know what I mean? I was trying to pick up on something, and I couldn't pick up on anything. But maybe there is that I didn't see. If there is, tell me in the comments. And I just think maybe that's the only way that she can even potentially capture Scratch is by using film or by using the VHS. You know what I mean? Maybe she's found that digital cameras and stuff like that don't capture him.
It's possible.
And so she's hoping maybe on these VHSs even she might capture something.
It's possible. It's possible. Just as a video production guy, it kind of irked me.
I hear you. I mean, you've got a setup to do just that.
I do.
You've got two. You just need two little adapters.
Yeah. It's true.
So
But I wouldn't ever. Oh, that's canoeing really hard. I wouldn't ever put a VHS tape rip onto an SD card that I then put back into a camcorder to project onto my wall.
That whole setup was very strange. I'll give you
But
that.
also, I have done all sorts of weird setups to be like, well, this device will plug into this thing, so I guess I could play this off here if I transfer it to the... I guess I have been in some similar situations.
And she's an artist. It could just be an artistic choice. At the end of the day, it could just be an artistic choice.
True. I mean, how many obtuse artists have you met, intentionally making things more difficult than they need to?
Too many. Too many that I know personally.
Well, it was quite a thrill going through Alice's apartment. It's not the same apartment. The apartment changed. And Alan notes that. He's like, it's different.
Yeah. And also your writer's room.
Yeah, bitch, you're not in the fucking same house.
Yeah, your writer's room is locked now. It has a swirl on it. The same swirl that's in like the Ocean View Motel in Control.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the same one that's in the Valhalla nursing home.
Yep.
And you're like, it's locked. I need to get in there to finish my story. Every time you come.
And when you go there later, you're like, Scratch is in there writing the story.
Yeah.
Man. You just don't know what's going on.
No, you
just don't know.
You still have no clue. You're still trying so hard to like piece things together.
So Alice is like talking about her art and stuff. You're like, damn.
Damn,
she's
this
hurting.
is boring. Oh, so we had different.
It brings you basically to the next part of the loop after this. You wind up back at the green room.
Yep. Back in there, baby.
Initiation 4.
Boom, boom. What's it called?
It's called We Sing, which is like probably like my favorite game of 2009.
We Sing? Is that like a Just Dance, but it was singing on the Wii?
It has to be, right?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. We Sing. Oh, God.
You're back on the set. You bloop in from the green room. I'm in there. Mr. Door's like, well, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to do it a little bit different this time. My nose is so itchy.
Oh. Manscaped, you're fucking up. Your Weed Whacker 2.0 is no good.
This time, we're gonna... And then, like, Sam Lake starts dancing with no music and just keeps dancing. And it's so fucking funny to me. It's such an awkward little dance.
Loved seeing Sam Lake dance at several points during this section.
I've seen him dance before too. That he did like a musical. What would I call this? He did like a performance piece where it's him and a composer, and the composer is like playing a keyboard. He's like playing renditions of different themes from Remedy games.
It's like an interpretive dance thing.
It's an interpretive dance thing mixed with spoken word where he's telling the history of Remedy.
All right.
It's a pretty funny piece.
Hey, man.
But
It's cold up there.
That's why... Man,
you gotta find ways to entertain yourself.
it's good. It was done live at an award show.
I bet it's cool. I bet it's cool.
It was a live performance.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Sounds like a lot. That's all.
It wasn't. I wouldn't say interpretive dance.
Okay.
That's pushing it.
Uh-huh.
He's just kind of shimmying a little bit, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like he is here.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing his little. He dances like like a like a go-go chick or something. But not really.
He's in a cage.
I wish. But
that's like somebody in like an Austin Powers music video. Like the in between clips, and there's just people on the side, kind of like
BBC 1, BBC 2, BBC 3.
Or was it Daddy doesn't care? Or Daddy wasn't there.
Yes,
Daddy wasn't there. That's it.
I used to perform that BBC song live.
Yeah,
thought it was very funny.
It's very funny.
Maybe I'll bring it back someday.
Hell yeah!
Just get myself booked to do the most cringe, fucked up set I possibly
covers,
can.
Yeah. No originals in the whole thing.
I'll just dress like Austin Powers and do songs from the Austin Powers soundtrack. Do my offensive Austin Powers.
Never play the theme song though. No. The whole time. Never play the.
No. Like, I don't have a flute. Sorry.
Yeah, right. I can't do it. If anybody asks, be like, I don't have a flute.
I already know what you're talking about.
Yeah. What? I don't know.
I know BBC 1, BBC 2. All right, anyway. What do you think of this?
Oh, the musical section? I don't know. It was it grew on me as I went through it. When it first started, I was kind of like, this feels like every TV show from like 2010. There was like a moment after Glee came out where like a lot of like major network, like not even sitcoms, but just like, you know what I mean?
Slouching so hard. Just lost like 6 inches in my picture.
But like any like major network TV show had to have a musical episode at some point. You know what I mean? Where like suddenly...
That's true. I do remember that being the case.
Yeah, and that was like during formative years of my life. And so I felt like that a little bit going into this where I was like, really? Are we doing this right now? But then by the end, I was kind of like, I don't know, this is fun. It's cool. It's interesting. It's an interesting play on... Because I get that like Thomas Zane is like a playwright, a filmmaker. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, okay... I mean, obviously, he doesn't ever suggest that he writes musicals. You know what I mean? He's not like Stephen Sondheim.
No, he's not a playwright.
He's not a playwright. Poet. He's just he's a poet. Sorry, poet and like an auteur,
yeah.
as they say.
Fake Ed Booker is the playwright. No, he's not. Okay, no, you might be right. Here's the thing: the cult, the play.
Yeah.
They say they don't know the source of the manuscript.
No. He's just the director.
But that it seemed like Cynthia claims to have known the author. And had seen the original manuscript of the play. And seen the original performance of it.
Okay.
And that...
I must have missed that completely.
And she was the writer's muse.
Okay, I missed that.
And it's like this like alternate version of history where it's like, well, Cynthia wasn't the muse. Barbara Jagger was the muse.
Yeah, maybe this is like the Dark Place version.
This is like I think it's like how Cynthia wishes it went down or something, you know?
Right. Maybe this is her dark twisted fantasy.
Just Photoshop her face onto that cover.
Anyways, what were we saying right before that? Oh, how do I feel about it? I don't know. By the end of it, I thought it was fun, and I thought it was. I liked the mechanics of it, where you're running around
the navigation.
The navigation was very cool. The only part that frustrated me was I got stuck in the taxi section of this.
Okay, yeah,
because I didn't see you're supposed to follow the signs that you follow.
Yes.
Later on in the real game, you know what I mean? Which I think you only see once beforehand. You see it once when it leads you to Casey, and otherwise it's not like a thing where it's like
it's like the Mirror Peak bar, something like that.
Yeah, whatever it is. But it's like over here, it's like an arrow telling you to go there. I didn't notice those for like probably 10 full minutes.
It wasn't that long for me, but I was like, what the fuck?
I was getting fucking frustrated. I was just like running in circles, and I was like, I don't have a light source for this. I tried to backtrack and take it from like when you're coming down and that was so, yeah. But inevitably I got there. But I thought it was cool where you're just like following the little like the tape down arrows. You know what I mean? You have to kind of it's like stand here. It's the set markers and stuff like that. It was kind of it's interesting.
Most people I've heard speak about it say it's one of the best moments in all of gaming history, and it's just like one of the highlights of the entire franchise.
Really?
People are going gaga for this.
Is that the actual? Are you being sarcastic right now?
Not at all. People think it's one of the most brilliant things.
Really? I thought it was fun. This was not the highlight of the game for me, by any means.
No, I
the highlight was like
I
the
thought it was
climax
very
of the game.
fun. It was like pretty cool. I was like, oh, cool. They're really going for it, you know.
And it was fun because we already know they make music for the game. Poets, like we've talked about before, Poets of the Fall, and you know what I mean? Like they're so intertwined with Remedy, you know what I mean, as a developer, as like as people. And so it's like, they've always incorporated music heavily into their games. Whether it's like the Ashtray Maze, you know what I mean? There's so many moments.
What did you think of the Ashtray Maze?
I like the Ashtray Maze. I thought that was cool.
Do you think it was one of the highlights of Control?
Top 10 moments. I don't know.
Would you put the musical in one of the top 10 moments of Alan Wake 2?
No.
It's just crazy that you're so nonchalant about this, because so many people are going to be like ripping their hair out right now.
That's fine. I thought it was good. I mean, like they did a good job with it.
And you think it sucks?
I think it's dog shit. I don't think it sucks at all. I think they did a really good job with it. You know?
No, you did a good job, pissing me off.
I think they did a good job with it. It was very fun.
Very fun. That's what I think of you.
I stopped and watched Sam Lake do his dance on his one personal screen, probably for a full minute. I probably watched him go through 5 cycles of the dance because it was fun. I get why people like it. You know what I mean? I was just like, that was cool. It didn't, I don't know. Maybe it's because I was jaded from all those 2010s, like, you know what I mean? Like, whether it was like Scrubs or 30 Rock or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Oh, what? Yeah, you were jaded from experiencing some of the greatest television.
Well,
in
just the
modern
one shitty episode they'd have where the whole thing's a musical, and you're like, oh, I guess they did a good job with it, but like,
some of the best.
It would have been. It would have been. This episode would have been better if it wasn't a musical episode.
I will admit, I also thought. Well, one, I called it. I was like, I think they're gonna do an Alan Wake musical. There seems like there's some choreography in one of the frames of the Dark Place trailer.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
Check the tape. I fucking called it. All right.
I'm sure you did. You're good at this.
Okay. you analyze. I did call it. I was like, that looks like choreography because he was like, or like.
Yeah.
Or something. I was like,
they do actually. Those are. Like, I was like,
that's like very like modern dance.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I was like, they're gonna do it. And right then, at that moment, I was like, well, it might be super cringe, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
that was my immediate thought.
Yeah.
And then when I saw it, I wouldn't call it cringe.
No. I don't think it was cringe. I think it was.
It was very fun. It was very interesting.
I thought it was fun.
I was hooked on the lyrics. Yeah. I laughed. I lolled.
I'd say I smiled through the whole thing.
I didn't raffle.
No, I definitely didn't raffle at any point.
But I was lolling for sure.
Lolling without a doubt. Yeah, I was smiling through the whole experience. You know what I mean? Like I stopped to watch most of the scenes.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, I wasn't CTFU, but
I don't know that.
I don't think it's a thing that has hit up here.
I don't CTFU.
Yeah, see if you can put it together. Because I wasn't doing that, but I was going or like this.
Oh, cracking the fuck up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right.
I was like
yeah, there I definitely chuckled. I chuckled. Those are the faces you're making. Thank God it's only the screen capture of your playthrough.
No, I liked it, but I wasn't. I've seen so many people just be like, this is the best moment of 2023. And it's like, good on Remedy for making a game that people can feel that way about in different ways.
I'm glad it's getting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I'm glad it's getting that positive of a response.
That wasn't my pick for even the top moment of the game.
No,
but the fact that multiple people can have top moments that like tonally are very different from one another.
I thought like I put most every boss fight ahead of this. I'd put the beach fight ahead of this, the scratch fight. You know, I'd put even like the walk down when you're watching the van crash through the trees and stuff. I'd put that ahead of this. That was fun. Yeah, I don't know. I'd put quite a bit ahead of this.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, but I liked so much other stuff about the game, maybe even more. But I don't mean to knock it. Yeah. It's just I really do think it just speaks to the versatility of the game that it can appeal in so many different ways.
Yeah, to so many different people too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad people are enjoying it as much as they are.
And I am really glad that they did it because one, I heard they almost cut it.
Oh, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
It was definitely a fun part of the game. It was a nice,
even though I don't think it was like the greatest part of the game, I think the game is better off for it as a whole because it's like it's similar to and obviously this is like I'm not trying to make a direct comparison, but it reminded me of the same attitude that I would imagine was going into something like the quiz show from Silent Hill 2. Do you remember when you're riding on the elevator and it's just like it's suddenly you're on a quiz show?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, what was that?
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Where they never really speak about it again.
No.
Well, they do almost. And in both scenarios, there are almost vague mentions of it because I think you like unlock like a special weapons cache or something if you get all the questions right. You can put the clues together in Silent Hill 2. But I just it's the same thing too. I love about like games like Killer 7 on like the Suda 51 games where it's just like, or even much more maybe. I don't even want to make this comparison, but it's true. Even the Quantic Dream games, there's just something where I go, damn, like you really just like went for your weird idea. And I love that it's like you just like went all in.
Sometimes to their detriment. And in Quantic Dream's case, sometimes.
And I'm saying, sometimes it is to a detriment. But I just mean to say, like, I'm always like,
You're
It
glad
always
people go
excites
for
me
it.
when I see someone going for it like
Yes.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
that I always get the same reaction. I think it's always the same success.
That's
or
why-
whatever. I don't mean to make direct comparisons. I just mean like
that's why I'll
I
never
dig it.
hate on the I don't hate on the music in the Remedy games. I'll say I'm not a fan of it, but I'll always point out that it's just because that's not my taste, period. You know what I mean? But I like that they commit so hard to it. I like that they have the band who they're like, they've all been friends. They've always been working together. They're loyal to them. They always find a way to incorporate it. You know what I mean? And they're like,
That's really cool. Just looking out for your friends and for your people.
Yeah, just, and also just like this is our taste and we're always going to put it into it. You know what I mean? No matter what.
Very, very just like shamelessly weird and confident in that weirdness in a way that I just wish more art was, because it's like, that's what makes it memorable and fun.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the best part of it.
No,
for
but
me.
it's definitely not the best part. It's one of the more memorable parts of the game.
Could be the best part though. I mean, get real.
For some people, for sure, yeah.
All right. You heard it here. Jordan thought the musical was the best part. So you do go through a bunch of different
Iterations.
yeah.
Because
you think it's over.
Yeah, you walk up and you find the TV and you're like, oh, thank God. And you go into it and then you're right back into another like section of the musical.
Yeah, and then there's the section where you're doing like the solo jazz rendition of it.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I go, okay.
He's like, how do I get out?
And he's like, man, I gotta like bring this song to an end.
Yeah.
And that's where I got stuck on a game breaking bug for like 2
Oh,
weeks.
so
And I couldn't end that part.
You were trapped, or it's just, how do I come up with the end of this song? Gotta come up with something to write.
Eventually you do get out. Again, you have to exit the television studio. I think this is where you first see Ati mopping the carpet. in the in the seat area of the
he's in a theater, a carpeted theater, mopping the and this is the first time that path's like open. The rest of the time that the seats are blocked off,
right,
when you come back to in there.
So you go out, you're back outside, of course. Oh, ring a ding 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 ding. Hello. It's you or me. I don't know what's going on.
My voice sounds very similar to yours, but I'm a little less uptight.
Zane calls you again. Mm-hmm. Hey man, why don't you come to my hotel?
Well, what's interesting about this one, if I recall correctly, this time is when you go, hey man, why are you fucking with me? You're like, stop fucking with me. And he's like, oh shit, you remember.
Yeah.
He's like, this is big. This is new. How much do you remember?
Right.
And you're like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, my room key's sitting there. And you're like, huh? And you look down, and there's his room key.
Right. And there's like a little note with like lipstick that says like the room number. And it's like, whoa. Okay. I guess I'll come up to his room.
I guess I'll see what's going on.
Hey, do you I got a room right nearby. Do you want to come party? And we just need like $50 to like score a gram, and then like we could like party like do you have a little money?
If you have like $80 you could throw in for a gram. If you could buy us a gram, you can party with us.
So this is where again you have to go down the little alleyway. The word wouldn't come out correctly. My tongue was getting stuck on the roof of my mouth.
Tongue-tied.
Because when you go into the Ocean View Hotel through the front door, you're in a loop. You're spit right back out into the street.
Yep. And Zane mentions on the phone call where he's like, if you find yourself in a loop, he's like, just look for another way in. Mm-hmm. Don't get caught in the loop. You
go down a little alleyway, same alleyway where you saw Casey before.
Yep.
You see Casey again. He grabs you.
CKY.
It's pretty much.
But you see Casey
he's one bitter being in this.
He's like
scene.
much angrier at you. This time he's one bitter being. It's a good one. I don't know CKY as well as you do.
96 bitter beings?
No.
Oh,
that's the okay.
That's the only song. Name one other one.
I can't.
Mm-hmm. I only know that because it was on Tony Hawk or something.
It was on the first Tony Hawk.
I just remember seeing the name, and being like, "That's a weird name."
Mm-hmm. It was on the first Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 had not as good a soundtrack.
What a riff.
But still a good soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Casey's like, "You're the murderer, the cult leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're the killer. You're the killer.
You're
the killer. You're the killer. You're the killer.
You're the killer.
Damn, son, where'd you find this? All right.
Real trap shit. Damn, son, where'd you find that?
That's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
He's got you at gunpoint. He's just like maniacal. He's just like sweating and
looks
laughing.
evil.
He
His
looks
teeth are like his teeth look like brown and like gross, and he's like he looks really scary and intimidating in this scene.
I don't remember
It's
the
like-
teeth, but
I mean, maybe that could also have just been my graphics. You know what I mean? Because it's not as good. But it looked like he had meth mouth. Like there was space in between his teeth. Like they were browning and like
well, he looked fucked up for sure.
yeah.
And then a shot rings out in the night. He looks down. I thought, who shot him? I thought Biggie Smalls. Who shot you? And then
I was literally the same thing. You were setting it up very well.
And then you look down. Alan looks down. He sees the gun in his own hand. Like he didn't know he did it. What happened there in your interpretation? I felt like the story compelled him to shoot him, and Alan wasn't even really aware that he was being led toward that conclusion.
This happens again in a similar way 2 more times.
And this is the last time you see him in the alley.
No, not with Casey, but this scenario where you have a gun, someone's shot, and it seems as though the story's compelled you to do that. You know what I mean? There's 2 more times that you do that as Alan.
I don't remember that.
Zane and yourself.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
So it seems as though this, yeah. So this isn't the only time that this happens. So it's interesting because it's in those 2 scenarios, you are slightly more in control, but you're also deeper into the story at that point as well. And you think you're figuring out how it works at that point.
Right. And I think the first time you're surprised by it. The second time you're compelled by anger, and the third time you're just making a conscious choice.
Well, the
to do
second
it.
time you're surprised but compelled because because Zane forces you into it to a degree. It's more of a reaction. The second one is like a reactionary thing. Where
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're like provoked.
Yes, and then the third time there's much more intent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like you're building up to it.
Yep. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Like Moonwatcher.
I don't know what.
Well, it's the ape in 2001.
Oh, it's Space
like,
Odyssey.
Yeah, that like confronts the obelisk and like starts to have the thoughts about it. Like gets the concept of violence, and then it later it uses it. It has to like see it. Yeah.
Yes.
You have to like see it first. You don't, and then like you're like, huh, and then you have to like understand what it is you saw, and then you have to like know how to use it, and then it's like, okay, well, I have this thing, and then it's like, oh, now I see how this thing
It's similar
can
how
get
like
me further, and like then you like use it with intent. You know?
I've been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts lately, but like it's similar to how like serial killers develop, where like they're the victim of violence.
Yeah.
Then they like something happens where they do something happens violent that like they're like, oh no. And then they're like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Totally.
have this power.
There's that the escalation, like you
Yeah.
said.
So there's like
Very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's clearly like a plot device, you know what I mean? But then it's also like that we've seen before in 2001, but it's also has real life, mirrors.
Yeah. It's also like at the core of Disco Elysium is like that's how you like build your characters. Like you need to like
you, Austin, and I have got to do
I would love to do that. That'd be for sure.
Cool. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, because like you are introduced to a topic, and then you're like, then to choose your paths as you're skilling up your character, what you want to spec into.
Yeah.
You're like, do I want to spend time like thinking about this deeper and like maybe make it part of my personality?
Right.
which is like what people do. You just don't think about that consciously.
You're doing that, but you're not doing it. You're not actively doing it.
You like unlock new concepts. You can only choose so many because you get locked in a skill tree, which is just like life.
Constantly moments in life where you can be either like, do I look at this deeper or do I not bother with it because life's difficult enough?
Yeah, I was like Epstein's flight logs. No,
you're like, nah,
I do not need to know about that.
You're like the Franklin scandal.
I did. Please,
no. Let me just dig a hole to put my head in.
I don't care who took Johnny, okay? Don't ask me about any of this stuff.
I don't care about it at all. Jimmy who?
What am I supposed to do?
Seville who?
What am I?
Savile?
What?
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure no one. I'm sure nothing.
He doesn't have terms for
sure
things.
Nothing.
You know, I'm certain of literally nothing. Anywho. What were we talking about? Alan Wake 2.
Or maybe it's all fake. Who knows?
But it seems as though the story's trying to... The story doesn't want you to succeed. The story wants you to fail. And so it seems like the story is preparing you for this final time that you do take the shot. You know what I mean?
And also it's just like if Alan's writing, it just seems like it's a series of events inspiring other events that you're witnessing. You're putting them into the story. You're putting them into the writing. It's so strange.
But you also don't know what parts of your story are influenced by Scratch's contributions to the story.
But you also don't know how much of Scratch is you.
I feel like Scratch is like a... I'm trying to think of it. Okay,
There's times where you thought it was Scratch that turned out to be you for sure.
So I think it works similarly to the way that you see, like, there's Mulligan and Thornton. You interact with them. They're just a couple goofy guys. You know what I mean? Obviously, they have a dark side where they accidentally killed this woman. You know what I mean? You learn about that if we're getting into deep, you know what I mean?
Like we talked about that last time.
Yeah. And they accidentally killed this woman. That's the dark side of them, and then they cover it up. That's what leads them to being taken. And I think what it is that the dark presence... I don't know that... I think the dark presence controls you to a degree, but I think it's like something that just like brings out the evil in you. So while it isn't Alan, where he's not in control of what he's doing, it is Alan because what he's doing is what Alan in his most like evil and depraved state, you know what I mean? There's no morals, there's no societal bounds, there's no like I'm worried about what other people are going to do. The id, as you'd call it, is like fully unlocked and allowed to like roam, you know what I mean, free on its own.
I guess that's truly a reflection of the evil within.
Watch our fucking Let's Play. Nobody did. Yeah. It's a great game. And did we do Yav played on that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Yav played on that. Yeah. I played that game like 3 times. So
me too.
Good fucking game. But I think it is literally, I think it is Alan and not Alan simultaneously. Where I don't think that.
I see how it relates back to your first point.
He's not doing anything Alan wouldn't do. To a degree, but he wouldn't do it if not controlled by the dark presence. But I think the dark presence also is like a analog or like a...
It's metaphor. Like alcohol. Like anything you do when you're drunk, you would do. You're
but Alan's an alcoholic. You know what I mean? And so I think that's like that's the way that it manifests in real life is when you do those things, whether it's Mulligan and Thornton. That's why the dark presence is able to take hold of them when they're in those states. When they
I was also joking about the inhibition thing.
No, I hear you. But when you but like when you fully let yourself go to it, that's when it's able to take you over. It seems like, you know what I mean? With Mulligan and Thornton, with I guess Nightingale, even, you know what I mean? Any of the Taken that you encounter during the game.
Cynthia,
yep. Cynthia inevitably just let herself completely go to. So yeah, that's my thought on it.
Interesting thoughts. I don't know how I feel about it, but I like a lot of what you're saying. So you do eventually, after you murder Casey,
cold case Casey,
you make your way up to I think it's the Mirror Peak Lounge or whatever.
It's a rooftop bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is called the Mirror Peak Lounge.
Awesome location.
It's super cool. Yeah. It's
very small, but it's just like, this is like a great like little connective corridor here.
And what's cool about the angel lamp mechanic with the light mechanic changing the scenes is that they can take these small spaces and make them so much more dynamic.
Yes, you know what I mean? For sure.
Where it's even like, I think it's in this scene right prior to this that gets you here, where you like, you're at a door that goes to a staircase, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That takes you out, and you put the light source there, you head downstairs, you go out there. take the light source from there, go back upstairs, come back up, take the light source from there, go back downstairs, scene's changed again, and then you add the light source, and then you can cross the thing. It's so cool the way
the light sources change where the doors lead to.
But it's so cool that that's like in real life, probably like maybe 30-foot area, you know what I mean? That is 3 separate locations. To a degree,
yeah, they're very economical in this game with that stuff in a way that, like, I'm sure it helped a lot with development costs.
Oh, for sure. But then
in a sense,
I also think it led to some of the graphical issues they in the bugs that they ran into in this.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Game. Well, because most of the issues in this is from texture loading issues. So that's where, because I'm still running into those in my second playthrough.
Right.
But not that it's taken away from it, because it gives you plenty of opportunities to save quick saves often. So like it's not a big deal, but
it's just interesting. Like I do wonder, is it more cost effective? It must be to a degree, because even though you're modeling new stuff for each environment, you're still modeling less than you would if you were doing.
Yeah, because you just need to have a larger.
Because you're giving yourself a pretty great canvas to work from. But I'd love to know more about like exactly how that shakes out for them on different levels of the development team.
Yeah,
maybe I can just ask someone.
You probably could just message somebody. They seem to like the stuff you have to say about them. So.
Well, we'll see. I'm going to try to piss him off with the next one.
Who knows? My comments about the musical might be talking about Sam Lake's fluency. I love it. I love everybody.
I love everybody too.
Rooftop bar, great location.
The thing I really liked a lot about this was he said something along the lines of, I could really use that shotgun.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you definitely could.
Yeah, and it's not locked. I also like that it's not locked. You don't have to like, figure anything out for it. It's just there, and he's like, I could use that.
Yeah, well, you got to do the light shift to get in.
Yeah, but that's it, yeah. But you need to do that to get into it anyways, and then do it again to...
Right, because you got to get the passcode for the door.
Yep, off of the...
$25.50, I believe.
I believe that's the price of the Ocean View cocktail.
Yeah.
Signature cocktail.
I've been to bars like that. I go, God, what a scam.
That is very New York. That's New York City, though.
I know, but it's. I know rent is insane in a lot of those cities. Just
but also, I mean, like
markup on liquor is.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane in some. Even locally, we can cut this out. It doesn't really matter. But like, you go to like the Monopole or the Fourth Ward, and you pay a price, and then you go to Mickey's where I used to work.
Yeah,
and I'm like, a fiddlehead's $5 at the Fourth Ward or at Monopole. But when I was working there, and then a fiddlehead was $8 at Mickey's. And I'm like, I know you're literally getting the same kegs, you know what I mean? Like from the same distributor. Yet we're charging $3 more a glass because of where you are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just the setting. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you can charge $25.50 for a cocktail. Whereas like cocktails at the bar you and I go to, I think pretty often are $5.
Yeah, and also you're paying for being on a rooftop.
Yeah, you're on a rooftop of a hotel too.
Yeah,
and a lot of the time,
I'm sure the bartenders there are super hot.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure by the time like you're done there, you're certain that you're taking one of them home. You don't, but like you're convinced you're
right.
To.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good customer service.
Exactly.
The kind that inflates your ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind I like.
The kind I like. No. Listen, if a cashier's not making me feel special,
it's the holidays.
Somebody's gonna hear about it.
I listened to that full special last night.
Oh, good.
I loved the last 10 minutes of it, especially.
Very good.
So good. So good.
The gift wrap counter. Anyway,
you're not here to laugh. That's what this show's about. Comedy.
I really loved the shotgun.
Oh, I love it's. I mean, I love a shotgun in any game. It's just like what I'm like lean towards.
Yeah.
But I love the shotgun in this game.
I will also say now that since we've last talked, I've gotten further into my playthrough. The hunting rifle is my favorite weapon in the game, and I got a combo of upgrades where if I stand still, it enters focus mode where you can't miss.
And then you can shoot through the darkness shield as well?
Yeah. I didn't bother to do that in my first playthrough because I was kind of like rushing through stuff.
Well, in my first playthrough, I wasted all my points on the other guns that you get early on. This time I saved them where by the time I got the pump shotgun, I had 64 points.
Yeah,
And
cool.
so I was able to just like kind of...
It's funny because you're always like, oh, damn, I don't have enough for an upgrade. And then you look and you're just like, oh, I have like enough for like 6 upgrades.
Yeah, I'm excited for New Game Plus.
I know.
Because I think the pump action shotgun is going to be my favorite weapon. I think that's going to be my favorite weapon.
It's so cool that
you
I
just-
maxed out all the weapons.
Yeah, but you don't get like the opportunity to use a pump action shotgun very much in the playthrough, because you get it in like the very literal like second to last chapter. You know what I mean?
In Sagas?
Yeah, in Sagas. You can get it before you go down and do everything, but like in my first playthrough, I didn't get it until I met.
Where you get it in the police station toward the end of the game.
Once you get the sheriff's station keys.
It is pretty late.
Yeah, it's pretty late in the game. It's literally right before the end game.
But
it's useful there though.
But
what?
It's not uncommon in survival horror to get like really good weapons toward the end of the game because they're wicked fun to use on New Game Plus.
Yes, I know, which is why I just said.
Yeah.
So excited for New Game Plus. Because then I think that's why it'll become my favorite, because it's so good, so good.
Yeah, I just didn't. I had more time to experiment with the guns over the last like week or so that I've been playing the game on stream, and it's like,
yeah, my second playthrough, I'm able to like take much more. I'm also playing on story mode in my second playthrough,
which
so
lets
I can
me
take
kind
a
of
lot
think
more
about
liberty.
the combat more and like fuck around with weapons. I successfully tossed and shot one of the gas canisters. I think they are.
Propane tanks.
Propane tank. Still a pretty awkward mechanic for me.
I felt the same about the flashbang, but the rocket flare in my second playthrough I'm finding more useful.
That's cool.
I'm finding it more useful.
So
I wasn't doing it. I wasn't executing it well in my first one. It's about timing. You got to do it early. You have to decide to do that early on, whereas usually I'd be panicking later and try to use it, and then they're spread out. You got to do it right away.
Yeah.
You have to treat it like the flare gun.
Totally.
Sorry. That's probably not.
Hey, it had to be said. So you go into the hotel through the rooftop bar entrance, take the elevator down, you're in the reception hall, and you go to room 665, and you see a projector screen with you on it. You go in, you're in a film projector.
Yeah.
You go in, you're in the hotel room, and it looks somewhat familiar. It's a different version, I think, of the room that Jesse Faden looked in on the AWE expansion, because I think the same painting is on the wall, the spiral painting.
But I'm sure it's just different because it's been some time and they maybe designed it differently to fit the scene or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then also, both scenes show Night Springs and Dr. Darling on the TV.
Yes.
In AWE and in this.
And potentially Jesse. We don't know, though.
I've confirmed. I think it is.
You've confirmed?
You've
confirmed? Because I'm still on the fence.
I got to look at the 4K video file raw.
That implies so much, then.
Why?
Because that implies that Jesse's with Darling. How does she get with Darling? How do they connect? How do they...
Because they've been studying the shadow.
Darling's missing.
Right, but the FBC's been studying the shadow.
Yeah, but they don't interact at any point throughout Control. Jesse arrives there after Darling's gone missing.
No, but I'm saying, and if it's been 4 years...
How does Darling get back? That's what I want to know.
I'm saying, I think Jesse went to where Darling is.
Oh, okay. That's it. Yeah, but again, that's another, you know what I mean, question. That's what I mean by like...
Well, they got 4 years... imagine they have 4 years of research on... Yeah. You know, because all of Darling's notes were left.
Yeah.
Everything he was working on with Hedron and all that stuff.
Yep, he has literal films of it and stuff like that, yeah.
So they've had time... This is all completely hypothetical.
Yeah.
But if they've had time to look all that over...
Yeah.
I could see Jesse as director crossing the threshold, following
Darling.
And also, if it was Polaris Hedron that was guiding Darling, Jesse, now that she's become
and if that is like
one with Hedron entirely.
And if that is like the quote unquote antithesis of the Dark Presence, you know what I mean, which people have talked about, you know what I mean? That's like they're just the two separate powers, two separate entities.
It would reason that Jesse would be able to somehow follow his steps and possibly go to him.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
I think that by having that confirmed that it's Jesse, that does confirm a lot or implies a lot, I think. You know what I mean? And it rises up, it brings up even more questions, which is exciting to me. Because that's why, like, at first I was like, I couldn't confirm that it was her, and I thought maybe this was like back when they were making Bright Falls. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't imply that they're still making. I mean, it
Night
doesn't imply that
Springs.
they're or Night Springs. Sorry, it implies that they're still making Night Springs because Logan and David are watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, new episodes.
So it's like, but then it brings up the question: why would Darling be making new episodes of Night Springs in the Dark Place? So does Darling? That's the only reason I think maybe Darling comes back. Maybe they get Darling back into reality. But, and then I know Dora says our Night Springs, and so that's also a creation of, so I don't know.
Back to life.
Back
to reality.
It brings up so many questions.
Truly. And like I think we've talked about already, when you go in deeper into the room, Zane is standing there, shirtless in leather pants. He zaps on some clothing, which of course is what Alan does. Alan zaps his own clothing. He's giving himself different looks.
That opening, that's very Lizard King.
Lizard King.
It's very Jim Morrison, you know what I mean? That opening image of him, which I think is just more a reference to like the time period that he's from.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
wouldn't
mean?
say Jim Morrison per se, as the archetype. It's just like yes, but
but it's
that's
more
one part of it. But it is like a mishmash of different personalities from that.
Because you could also say Robert Plant, you could say Mick Jagger, you could say, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was just the
he's
archetype.
definitely that like rock star type poet out there, you know, the early rock star, like not stadium rock, you know what I mean? But like
yeah.
not like I guess I mean to say like not arena rock, not like glam, but like, you know, the decades prior to that where there was still, I don't know how to put it, but like it was a little more rugged in a bizarre way.
It was a bit more raw, well, because it wasn't
because I mean people were continued to be wild and rambunctious.
Well, because and at that point too, it wasn't quite in the mainstream. You know what I mean? It was still kind of on the up and up. By the time you get to glam rock, that's mainstream, and then you're getting a bunch of like you're getting big companies, you're getting a bunch of producers. It's so heavily produced.
It seemed more, you know, even
bands
though
like Kiss and Twisted Sister,
it was
that
like
are literally produced, like built to.
Yeah. It felt more counterculture.
And I mean, yeah, well,
even though it was already kind of becoming corporate and co-opted, it felt more counterculture.
They were the ones who like made it large enough that it could become co-opted. They were the ones that got co-opted. You know what I mean? So the beginnings of it wasn't, but by the time they get the later work, it is. But like, I mean, like Robert Plant's just writing about fucking Lord of the Rings for the first like 3 albums.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
totally. Dorks.
Yeah, just big nerds.
I will say, because these are going to show up, I am wearing my pot leaf socks that I got after I played a dispensary here. Buddha Bing. Shout out to Timmy 2 times.
2 times. Fuck it back at it.
Thanks for the socks. These are actually some of the only socks I own that don't have holes in them.
Oh, there you go.
So
that's one of the only things I ask for every year at Christmas.
Socks with holes in them?
Yep. Just new socks.
Then I know what I'm going to be giving you. I will say the other day I was out and I almost thought of giving you a gag gift. And I was like, no, that would just be a waste of everyone's time. But I said, I think it'd be just as useful just to tell you. It was a big Central Perk mug.
Oh,
thought it was very funny.
That'd be great.
But it's like, you know, what are you going to do with a mug? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you would be like, okay. And then it's like.
That's like my dad got me a mug that I had a similar reaction to, where I have like 2 or 3 mugs.
Yeah, what do you need?
I live alone. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I don't need much. I have 2 or 3 mugs. But he got me one that's like, it's big. It's a big mug. And so I use it often because it's the size of it and it's well made. Feels good. But it just says like a boss on it. And I was like, all right, why'd that make you think of me? You know,
I'm pretty sure Eve has one that says Big Boss.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I like it because I'm kind of like it's funny. You know what I mean? Because that's like a joke from 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. So and he got it for me like 2 years ago.
I also want to say yes, I know I said Big Boss, which is
Big Boss, Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Yes, I get it. Okay,
don't fucking freak out. Keep it together.
You talk to Zane, and he's like, 2 artists, like intertwining minds, blah blah blah, making our transcendental works. And Alan's just like, what the fuck, Bruce? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Bruce, why are you doing this right now? Can you just be normal with me for a minute?
But he's like, dude, what are you talking about? And then this is what was really shocking to me, and I can't understand how to make heads or tails of this yet.
Okay.
Because I've watched it a few times.
Yep.
I just don't have a clear interpretation.
I wonder
but
if we're thinking about the same thing, so I want to hear what you have to say.
It then cuts to showing Alan and Zane partying very hard.
Yes.
And a song, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a Poets of the Fall song, or it's an Old God song. I think it's a Poets of the Fall song.
Either way.
But
same people.
it's kind of like Mr. Scratch's theme song in American Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like a scene of Mr. Scratch like murdering people to this song, okay?
Okay. In American Nightmare.
In American Nightmare.
Okay. All right.
And
then
so
that confirms my thought about this scene.
And so
I think
it just says to me as a savvy viewer, I go, are they using a musical cue to imply that is actually Scratch?
I think that this is referenced later. You know what I mean? I think you're seeing like a flashback to something that like later you're going to discover has happened.
Well, yeah. So I'll get on to that too.
Okay.
So you see them partying.
Yes.
And Alan goes, it's called Return because we return, that to me is a highlight of the game. That is one of the funniest.
You want to talk about highlight of the game? This whole scene is a highlight of the game where they're just getting fucked up all over the room.
I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's called Return because we return.
That was the funniest joke in the whole game to me. I could not believe how funny it was.
Hammered, like he's clearly so.
And
far
I
gone.
think that it says a lot about who I am, that I identify. I was just like, I have been that guy. That was so funny. And also, like I've said, I have a friend. We have a mutual friend.
Yeah, I went to high school with him.
Yeah, I've seen you guys eat chicken wings together.
Yeah, I've seen you guys eat chicken wings together.
Nice.
You want to talk about who saw who eat chicken wings together? You guys were sloppy.
And this friend is Zane.
It's just,
And
we said it last
showed
episode,
him.
but I wish you could see the.
Did I tell you?
I showed our mutual friend and he agreed, and then you didn't tell me you showed him.
You showed Dust?
No, I showed Austin.
Oh, you showed Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you showed Bruce.
I showed Bruce the scene, and I said, Bruce, don't take offense to this, but I want you to see this character and see if you understand what this reminds me of. And he literally fell on the ground laughing.
Oh,
it was
God.
Painful. Like he
Thank
was
God.
like he's like, oh my God, you got me so good. What the hell? And he kept going, this is a video game?
Well, because what I love about him is that like it is genuine.
Yes.
That's why he's so great, is because that is him. There's no act, there's no front, it's not a thing.
contrivances, it's just-
No. That's just who he is. So he's self-aware enough. I love Bruce. Bruce is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's beautiful to know that he's self-aware enough to be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And like I've said it before, but there's specific lines saying it's not just the vibe. It's like
No.
It's the look, the vibe,
The way he delivers certain lines.
handsome devil.
Yeah.
It's like it's all him.
It's like how he greets me. You know what I mean?
Specific
Like,
lines. And he was like, "Welcome to the House of Zane." When I went to Bruce's house, he went, "Welcome to the Alamo." And like this is.
It's him. It's Bruce.
It is him. It is
it's Bruce
him.
in the best way.
And if he ever sees this, he knows.
he knows. Thank God.
But yeah, even certain like when he was like, "There's a door in the ceiling and a window in the," or I don't know what he said, but he said, and it's like that's just like a Mountain Carol lyric from the band that we were all in together.
Yeah.
You weren't in the band, but
no, I wasn't in that band. No. I saw you guys.
you
play
saw
a
us
couple
play,
times.
which is what's the difference?
Yeah,
honestly,
I'm basically part of it.
I don't know. I really think in a way, like anybody who's seen like a small town band live is basically like as part of the experience as anyone. In a way, you know what I mean?
I'd say you contributed to the. You almost contributed to the performance as much as the band to a degree by being there and contributing to the energy and like.
And that dictates like how the performance is going to go. It's I don't know, it's a very holistic thing. It's two sides of the same coin.
Cohesive thing, yeah.
So I don't know.
Because you don't have one without the other.
Yeah, the audience,
Exactly.
the listener, it's a shared experience that makes it real.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Doesn't make it real.
just so funny. So this whole scene really got me, but that one line in particular, "It's return because we return," is just kill. I had a screenshot of it, and it was like It was the whole, like, it was when I was reviewing the game, and I saw it in a leak.
Oh, okay. So like I
Not a leak.
over...
I shouldn't say it. There was someone who posted footage that I felt went against the embargo. I wouldn't call it a leak.
Okay. Somebody else who got a press pass.
Because because it was the final round of press previews. I looked at the guidelines for the embargo, and you're only supposed to use X amount of footage.
Yeah.
And this guy posted all of the footage.
Oh,
you basically got to play like a 3-hour chunk of the game, which included,
Jesus.
I think the first big Saga mission and the first big Alan mission here.
Yeah, because they cut it off at 3 in the trailers that they put out.
Right.
They cut it out at the local.
So he showed everything up through the hotel and shit from a lot of it, and
I mean, maybe.
So I saw this scene, and I just
maybe because it ultimately doesn't reveal much. Because
you can't make heads or tails of it.
You think you're starting to figure out what's going on at this point in the game.
Right.
You have no clue. You have no clue. And you can, I mean, like, I had that thought just because so much of this game, I just had the idea of I don't actually know what's happening. But I was also kind of like, okay, maybe we're getting to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah, you're getting to the bottom of something, and then you realize that the bottom goes much deeper.
Yeah, you realize that there maybe is no bottom.
Yeah. It's just a big room full of tops. And so you're talking to Zane, and he's saying basically that Return is a companion piece to my film.
Yes.
But when you have this whole scene where you're partying with him, he's talking about Return and his film.
Yep.
And at the end, it stops. He goes, and that's how the magic happened.
Yeah.
Which I didn't pick up on the first time. I didn't know he was like basically going, hey, we hung out recently and this is what went down.
You thought you were seeing something happen in the moment?
I just thought I was seeing something.
Or that would happen?
I thought it was a weird time warp. I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know exactly what it was I was seeing. Because I was just kind of not, I just didn't latch onto that one line.
I'm trying to think. I just played through this, so I'm trying to think back to my first impressions. I might have had a similar feeling that it was while I was watching them getting fucked up in the moment. Because I think I
thought it was in the moment, and they like zap back, and they were he was like, stop, we need to stop fucking around. Like I thought he was just like,
that might have been my first impression too. Because obviously on the second playthrough, I can look at it with the context of this is clearly something that's going to be referenced later. You know what I mean? Where you're like,
and so okay, go off on that.
Okay, so later on, it's going to reference where Alan realizes that Scratch and Zane collaborated on Return.
Yes,
and
when you
Scratch
come to see Zane again later in the hotel.
Yeah, they wrote Return together, and so you come, and that's when you have Zane at gunpoint and stuff, and we'll get to that more in detail later, and get into how that's the second moment where you have your gun drawn on someone and you pull the trigger. But in that, you talk about that, and obviously during this scene, you're writing Return. So I think this is kind of the first time that they tell you directly.
You even see him.
You see him literally writing it. And I mean, he comes up with the title in your favorite line of the game.
Fucking Zane is like filming at the same time.
Yes, he's filming the whole thing. Yes.
And he's doing a bunch of stuff. He's wearing the deer mask. He's like doing things that like
he's doing different weird things.
And then
it's also implied that Zane clearly doesn't know how to get out. He's trying to use you to help him get out as well. It seems to be implied, but it's also implied he's been there way longer than you. So he may understand.
He's more acclimated. Like his memory's not as affected.
Yeah, so he may understand some of the like inner workings of this more than you do, even though he doesn't know how to get out. Mm-hmm. He may understand how some of this works better than you do. Mm-hmm. And because it's also implied that he knew he was working with Scratch at this moment. Because he says, I knew it was, but he was just so inspired. He was so good. You know what I mean? I couldn't say no.
Right, but so here's the thing.
Okay.
At that point then, in the party scene, is Alan Scratch?
I think so. Well, okay.
I was thinking it meant Zane was Scratch, but it could also mean that Alan was Scratch.
I think this goes back to the theory I mentioned earlier, where when your inhibitions are cleared, the thing you joked about with alcohol, But like,
I've just heard people say that alcohol only lowers your inhibition. So if you do something weird when you're drunk, you would have done it in real and like when you weren't drunk.
Yeah, no, I get what
but
you're
that's like an urban legend.
Yeah, no,
that's not. I was just joking. I just a funny thing I've heard people say over the years.
Yes, but that's not.
You've heard people say that, right?
Yes, but that's not true.
It doesn't
you wouldn't
account
do
for
anything for real when you were drunk if you wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's not just that your inhibitions are lowered. It's also that your judgment is impaired.
Yes,
which are two different things.
Very different things.
If you know anyone who's ever had like a traumatic brain injury or something, someone who has their they struggle with judgment,
yes,
which is a different part
totally
of the
different,
mind.
totally different thing.
But I was just making a joke, okay?
Yes,
I joke to cope.
Yes, the idea is that like the
joke
dark,
to copida. It's
the
my
dark
favorite dish.
Is your like most depraved state. If I joke to copida, it's like a layered phyllo dough with
it's very good.
Trauma and feta cheese.
Joke to copida.
Joke to copida. It goes back to my earlier idea where because I don't know. I think when they began working on it, it was Alan. And then I think as they became more depraved and they became more, let's just let our base instinct live and let's, who cares, but it's just you and us here, you and I here. We have to find a way to escape. Then the dark presence took hold. And then when they started writing, that's when it was Scratch.
It's hard to say exactly if that, how that works out because he later says, like Zane says to you, you stopped writing, you stopped wanting to work on this. So like I had to go to him.
Exactly.
And it's like, did that all happen in that session or is that like over multiple times or could it be both?
I'd argue that because Zane understands how this works more, that maybe Zane got you all fucked up to get Scratch in. You know what I mean?
Man, okay. Scenario. That's interesting.
I think because it seems as though
right. Wow.
Later, and the next time you meet Zane, when you leave, if you stand at the projector still afterwards, there's
which
more.
I did not do, and so
I didn't
many
do
people
it my first playthrough.
I've been watching a bunch of Let's Plays on that scene specifically just to check.
I left the room. So this playthrough, I stayed there.
I saw one out of like 6 that I watched.
The second playthrough, I stayed there, and thank God I did, because then you go, wait. He clearly has, because it seems as though that he's setting this all up because I think Zane's using you to escape as much as you're using Saga to escape.
I agree. And also like we talked about that escalation of ideas with the gun and everything.
Yeah.
It really does seem like Zane intentionally is reinforcing the violence here because he goes, that's great drama. And like, someone else later in the story, I think it's in one of Rose's notes in a lunchbox. She goes, the story won't hurt you, or you'll be good unless don't hurt anyone unless it's good for drama. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was kind of just like something reinforcing, like
it's got to fit the story effectively,
but that
it's got to work for it,
right? But that like in because the story needs drama, violence is necessary,
but it has to fit the genre. Also.
Right,
I feel like there's like parameters.
Right.
You don't totally know,
but you're stuck in the parameters of a horror story. So the violence you can't work around it. You need it.
You have to have it. Yeah, the same way that there has to be a sacrifice. Right. Made, you know what I mean?
So it's so unclear to me. Yeah, possibly he could have been. Zane could have been summoning Scratch at that moment. That makes sense. Especially because we found that Scratch, as an editor, was working on the script. Then when Alan was like, actually, that was me. That wasn't Scratch. It's like, well, Scratch and you were the same thing. It doesn't. It's so hard to like really parse out the details. But it's like kind of just like I'm like looking at it through a screen.
Yeah, but it seems like it's also at the moment Scratch takes over, the Dark Presence takes over. Also at moments when you give up, when you've entirely given up or given up hope. You know what I mean? So it seems like you can maybe draw connections to when those points occur. Based upon that, it seems like they're implied because it seems to be like not only does Zane say you've given up, but then he also forces the scenario where you're like, I'll do anything to do this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'll get hammered. I'll take acid. I'll do these pills. You know what I mean. Maybe if I just get fucked up, I'll figure something out. Like,
it's so hard to say. Anyway, you're talking for a minute.
Yep.
He's explaining, oh, my film, blah blah blah, your book. We're working together, bud. Hey, we're friends.
He also has the power to like teleport around, implying that he has more of an understanding of how this place works.
He seems super in tune with the dark place.
Yes.
In a way where it's like Alan has gotten there and can get there, but he loses it because he forgets everything.
He's
his memory's constantly reset. But Jesse and Darling show up on the TV as we discussed,
Yep.
and Zane's like, they know we're here or
hits the
something.
ground
He's
and
like,
he starts crawling
and
around,
he's paranoid about them.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that complicates this much further. I don't really understand why
so
would
many
the
questions about
FBC
this.
be a threat to Zane?
I don't know why. I mean, obviously
And I do want to put this out real quick.
yeah.
Consider, too, that Jesse Faden, prior to all this, was aware of Thomas Zane, the poet.
Yes.
And learned of Thomas Zane, the filmmaker, and didn't understand why that, like, how, basically she was told, we look, she was like, one of my favorite poems from my childhood is by Thomas Zane.
Tom the poet.
And her therapist is like, well, I looked into that. There was a Thomas Zane filmmaker, but there was no evidence of a poet named Thomas Zane.
Implying that he's
maybe
changed the
you're
story.
wrong,
Yeah.
and kind of like making her feel kind of like gaslit and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting to note that she somehow had knowledge of this version of Zane.
Well, it seems
Prior,
like,
and so I could see her being invested in his story.
it seems like there's multiple versions of Zane. It seems like Zane has obviously tried to get out of the dark place multiple times and has changed reality potentially multiple times in his attempt to do so.
sometimes I feel like Zane and Alan created each other.
I know. I
don't
know.
know.
There's moments where you go, did Alan create Zane as a way to escape, or did Zane create Alan as a way to escape? Because they're clearly they're both helping and not helping each other simultaneously.
And late in the game, Mr. Doris says something to Alan like, "I bet you don't even know what's underneath your mask."
Yeah.
That's like
That's the chapter called Masks.
right. Mask off. Fuck it. Mask off.
Mask off. Fuck it, mask off.
Jack off. Fuck it. Jack off. X and XX. What was? Do you know the parody song I'm talking
I
about?
don't know.
Oh man. He's eating soup. He's jacking off on the couch before his dad comes home. I'll play it for you later. Jack off. Fucking jack off.
Sorry. I'm just checking the.
No, it's good. I'm trying so hard, like in the moment, to make more sense of this, but it's so unclear.
Oh, you can't make sense of it. I mean, it's first of all, the way you're perceiving half of this is like through flashbacks and through you being fucked up in it, and there is no definitive way, so it's hard to be clear.
We're gonna have to come back to all this once we play the new game plus.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
and if there's any add-ons or DLC, you know what I mean?
and
Like,
there's 2 confirmed DLCs.
so who even knows? Sorry, excuse me.
So when you get out of here, you start to become inspired.
Yes.
You start seeing some scenes.
You go, oh my goodness. This story's so
Essentially, just to kind of make a long story short, you find out that the hotel is where Alex Casey is doing in the flashbacks, Alex Casey is doing an investigation where there was a series of murders. There was a play called The Cult, which was an immersive theater experience that took place across the entire hotel.
Yes, it's like I've heard of stuff like this, where it's like a murder mystery dinner theater that takes place in an entire home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like
Super cool.
yeah, there's actors standing in
It's
every
like
room or
going to
whatever,
like a
and you can-
reenactment village,
Yeah, it's very similar.
but
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a hardcore version of that.
Yes, everybody's in character, and it's based on.
And I think you can have sex with the actors if depending on what state it's in.
It has to fit the story.
Because like the scare houses, like sometimes you can sign a waiver and then like they can touch you.
Yeah.
You know, and they were not gonna hurt you, but they just go like they'll spook you a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't pay all the money, so he's allowed to hit you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's similar, I think, to this where you can have sex with the actors.
You just have to pay an extra fee.
Or wait, no, I'm thinking of something else.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking of prostitution. That's what. It's a different thing. This is a performance.
I'm thinking of sex work.
Wait, no. Do you? No, you don't. You don't in this game.
No, you don't.
No, I was playing a different game.
You were playing Beyond Two Souls.
No, but you go throughout the entire hotel.
Yep.
There's 4 scenes. There is the front hall, the ballroom, the rehearsal room, and the final scene,
quote
which is like a doorway with a corridor that leads to room 666. And essentially, you know, through Alex Casey's echoes, you learn that he's investigating. Ed Booker is playing the role of the director of the play, and they hired, quote, a famous actor for the part of the devil. And there's you know, on the stage in the ballroom.
Did they say actor or celebrity?
Didn't they say celebrity?
Which implies that it might not be an actor.
Right, it's odd.
Yes.
Who could it have been?
Because Casey at one point is like, was it Alan Wake? You know what I mean? So could it have been Scratch?
Or did they say famous actor? I can't remember.
I don't know directly. That's a point that I could
It may have been famous actor. I brought this up earlier in the Discord, in the Hidden Machine Discord. Feel free to hop on. There's a link below this video. But not too many people.
No, please. I can't.
I need it to be manageable.
I can't handle it at all.
I just check in casually.
Same, and then I like don't even know how to respond to half of it, and I just
I just go, LOL, yeah.
I read all of it and I go, wow, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. All right, cool.
Sometimes I just give a little react.
Sorry.
I do though. I read it, but sometimes I go, oh, I can't jump in. It's like being stuck in a roundabout.
Yeah. I just have to keep going around and around and around.
But I've been so grateful for the stuff shared in some of the
absolutely
more esoteric threads where we're talking about the Alan Wake 2 leaks and stuff.
I'm pretty stoked anybody wants to participate in it, to be honest with you.
Well, it's a lot of expatriates from other servers that have,
yeah, we take in anyone, really. Yeah. You're allowed to talk about whatever you want.
No,
you're not.
No, but I will block you if you start talking shit about me. Yeah. I am thin-skinned.
If anybody compares me to fucking Lester from Grand Theft Auto 5 one more time, you're banned. No, I'm kidding. I see it. As upsetting as it is, I see it.
It is like a grotesque version of you.
Yeah, it's if I really let myself go.
Yeah,
that's me.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is not what you look like, but
No.
I could see.
That's why I get it.
If you just amplified the if you just went, let me just make this as awful as possible.
Which is why I was so like, fuck off, because I was like, God damn it, you're right.
But you can do that to anyone.
Yeah.
Someone in the Discord mentioned that, like, you know, the only 2 actors we know of right now are Thomas Zane was an actor.
Yes. And Sam Lake.
I think that was the 2 they mentioned.
Yeah.
It does also seem like Barbara Jagger was an actor.
Yeah,
she was an actor. Yeah, she was in Nightless Night.
That's implied. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like one of the posters I think you find in maybe the Suomi Hall.
So it's interesting that, you know, they hired this person. Who could that have been? Well, it's an echo of that person in some way.
Could it have been Thomas Zane?
But it makes sense that it could have been, you know, Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Or some form of Alan Wake. Is that Zane? Is that Scratch? Is that an echo of Alan?
Yeah, well, and it seems
or is he just the archetype?
And obviously Zane is played by the same actor that plays Alan Wake, and it's basically just Alan Wake with his hair a little more fluffed out and no facial hair, you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to say who's who and what's what. Ati keeps calling you Zane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Tom, yeah. So and then he mentioned, he's like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean?
The play basically, you know, they talk about, there's a writer's room area. You go, oh, well, the play is about how the devil is rewriting reality while God is asleep.
Yeah.
The actor who played the devil was method acting his role, and everyone was kind of scared of him.
Like, to the point,
And what they found out was that they accidentally, throughout the play, like, summoned
Scratch. They performed a summoning ritual on accident, effectively. Yeah.
But that maybe, like, preceded the actor being hired.
The summoning ritual.
Or the actor being hired preceded the ritual. So it's like,
yes.
The actor, so did they summon something that possessed the actor? That's kind of left unclear to me.
Or did the actor help to set the summoning ritual in motion?
Right.
Did the actor make
was it like Alan and the Dark Presence working together to
make sure
bring themselves into reality? It's so hard to tell exactly what that means, but
yeah.
So this all culminates in a bunch of people being murdered, but the star,
Yes.
one of the co-stars was this woman, and they call her a grand dame, an older woman. They describe her. It sounds like Cynthia, and like I said, it seems like because you see Cynthia's corpse, in the tub.
Yes.
So it's implied that in the play, Cynthia was the muse, and we know that Barbara Jagger was the muse.
Yes, but
this is also like a weird, twisted version of Scratch and Zane, and the whole story is being retold in this twisted way.
Thinking of how much Zane is willing to use Cynthia in real life. Think about how much he'd be willing to use her in the story.
And it's similar too to like it's a reflection of Alice's or Rose's fan fiction about Alan. Like this long, like you mentioned that she's kind of like playing a similar role to Cynthia as like
there's a parallel,
the desperate lover,
too, where it's a similar theory to like these characters will exist repeatedly throughout time.
Right.
Yeah. It's just different.
There's
people
archetypes.
There's the role that people different people fill. Yeah.
And sometimes that role is even like an iteration of the role. You know what I mean?
It's almost becomes either watered down or slightly. It's like a game of telephone to a degree.
But it's happening on multiple planes at the same time.
They can be happening in unison with each other.
Yeah. A lot to take in. Yeah. So the actor got the role simply to get to the actress and to murder her.
Yes, that's what it seems like.
That's what it's said. It's said.
Oh, okay.
It's said explicitly. Oh,
okay. All right. Oh, cool. All right.
And
so, which would imply then also that the actor was the one that set the ritual in motion.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say one can't happen without the other.
And Alex Casey in the Echoes, the investigation even says like, oh, hey, is that Mr. Scratch, if that was his name, like the lead actor. Like, so it seems like Scratch is the murderer.
Yes. Absolutely, yeah.
And you find, I think that Scratch is the killer in all of these instances.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the first episode, in the one section of Saga's campaign where you play as Alan. When you come to after Scratch invades the lodge,
oh god,
it's almost the same scene.
I'm also realizing, wait, what? When Scratch comes through at the lodge,
it's almost the same scene where you come to, and the way that the bodies are splayed about and there's blood everywhere. Like they're murdered in a very similar fashion.
Yeah, it's also the same scene as when Casey is like, wait here, and he goes around the corner. Yeah. It's the same as when you first see Casey in the dark place.
So I don't know.
But also, I just realized that like Scratch is the killer throughout all of these murders in the dark place when you're looking at the echoes and looking at the murder sites. But also, Saga has to also kill all those people. All the victims, Saga also kills in reality, or when she goes into the overpass.
She kills the dark.
I keep saying overpass.
The dark presence version, like the dark version of them, she has to kill. Like them infected by the dark.
But it's like they get killed twice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They get killed by Scratch and then killed by Saga in a story possibly written and edited by Scratch.
Oh, I think, okay, so here's where I think I have an answer to that. I think I have an answer to that.
I feel. I'm a modern man.
Return was written by Scratch. And when Wake says that he has to edit Return and he has to fix it, he says he has to stay within the parameters of the story. So maybe what you're playing through as Wake is the original version of Return. I know it's called Initiation, but I believe what you're playing through may be the first draft of Return.
Oh.
And so when you're rewriting, the reason that Saga has to fill these same roles and kill these same people is because you have to literally stick to the parameters of the story.
Right. You've already set these things up. These are the victims.
You have to include these characters. That's why the characters exist in both realities.
Goddamn,
because you
possible.
have to include them.
That's not a bad theory at all.
Because we don't know how it works either. We don't know, but that's just like that's man.
And
I just got to that because you made that connection.
I'm gonna cream when I play New Game Plus.
I know, God. I was like, if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have even thought of that.
I'm straight up going bust in a gamer way, not come, but I am gonna cream and bust. I'm gonna cream my jeans and bust all over my Xbox controller, but not
in like a sexual way.
No, just like in a gamer way.
In a gamer way. Everybody, you guys know what we're talking about.
You know what I mean. You know about creaming and busting in a gamer way.
You know about bust cream. You know all about it.
Man.
God.
I'm just like, I was playing through this
Yeah.
particular section, I think last night. And it was so interesting to see
Same, I think.
Alan like approaching Cynthia's corpse in the bathtub. He didn't even say anything about it.
Well, I mean,
Like about her, about recognizing her.
Well,
when he couldn't. How could he recognize
it's
her?
been so long.
It's been so
13
long.
She was already old. It's been 13 years. She doesn't look anything like she did in the first game.
I don't know.
because
He
she's
would
aged
just
so
go like,
much.
"Oh, that's Cynthia." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it wouldn't make sense.
Well,
for him
she's
to,
also like a corpse. She's a little bit. You know what I mean?
right. I know, but it's just like,
Fuck.
like Alan. I'm just thinking about when Saga went to the bathtub as well, and
Yep.
I don't know the whole thing. Like you're sending.
Well, I mean,
you're
if you-
sending the items like from the dark place. Like you send because you're listening to Anger's remorse.
Well, in the same way that you're sending stuff from reality into the dark place, where Rose puts the lamp in the shoebox. You know what I mean? Rose puts the photos. Or, I mean, someone puts the photos in the shoebox. You know what I mean?
Alan puts the photos in the shoebox.
Yeah, but Alan finds the photos in the shoebox.
Oh, he takes them out and puts them in a different shoebox.
Yes, but somebody had to first put them in the shoebox in reality to get them into that shoebox in the dark place, which would have been probably Alice. You know what I mean? But also, which is why maybe Alice is influencing Rose and directing her on what to do. What was my other thought? Oh, Alan mentions that both him and Saga are the heroes in the story.
They're co-hero.
They're co-heroes. And obviously in Scratch's version of the story, he's the hero. So it makes sense that, you know what I mean? Like Saga would fill the role of Scratch potentially. Maybe they're just mirrored versions of, you know what I mean? Not mirrored versions, but she's
No,
just the
I hear
replacement.
you. I hear
get
you.
what I'm saying. Hopefully you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I feel like this video was slow to start, but we're just like we're getting into some
Well, we can
great
finally
speculation.
we can really finally talk about it because we're getting into the Alan stuff. There's so much in the first episode that I feel like I didn't want to spoil the Alan segment by getting too into it because so much is revealed. So I've been so excited for this section of the discussion.
So as you eventually you find out, you know, that Scratch was the killer. He wreaked havoc all over this play, killed
Yeah.
a bunch of people.
So many people.
The cult of the tree imagery, it seems to be mirrored and possibly rooted in the cult play. Like and they call themselves the cult of the
What do they call themselves?
word in
the
this,
cult of
don't
the
they?
word. Yes, cult of the word.
which is what the murder cult in New York City was called.
Yes.
Which again, I think we touched on this last time, but it does seem like maybe through this writing, Wake was retroactively causing Casey to have experienced those same investigations in his own life.
Well, and the thing is, too, the reason that's another theory is if you notice at the beginning of the story, Casey's not affected by the story either. Like the beginning of the game, Casey also, but then by the end of the game, Casey thinks that I'm opening up more stuff here, so be ready. By the end of the game, Casey's like, by the time you meet him in the morgue, when he's trapped there after he's been attacked by the Dark Presence, it seems like the story doesn't affect Casey until he's attacked by the Dark Presence. And once he's attacked by the Dark Presence, he goes, Logan's dead. David left you. What are you talking about? Like, Saga, you got to get it together. So to a degree. But before that, and when you meet the Bookers, he's not influenced by the story yet.
It doesn't seem like he is, no.
No, so there's a possibility, I think, that the Bookers... So there's two possibilities. There's a possibility of what I just said a moment ago, where what you're experiencing as Saga is the rewrite of the story, where you have to use the same characters. Then there's a possibility that what you're witnessing as Saga is actually the future. But, okay. So, this is all Alan's story. This is all the story. They're all affected by it, except for Casey and Saga at the beginning of this. You know what I mean? Once Casey becomes affected... The reason Casey doesn't recognize the Bookers in the diner is because he's not affected by the story yet. And because Alan retroactively changed the story to include these people, you know what I mean? Maybe it is actually the Bookers. For real. And maybe so that affects their character in the story, but it doesn't affect Casey at that point. Casey doesn't recognize them because he's not
Easily
affected by
could
the
have,
story
yeah.
yet.
And then also, I think by the end of Saga's campaign, like isn't one of the Bookers like is taken?
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think Ed
Ed, not
runs
Tammy,
off
but
into the
Ed.
woods
Yeah.
in
'Cause you
in
find
having,
the- you find, like,
a
the,
fit of some sort.
Yeah, you find the court, like his diaries or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yep. His journal. Interesting.
And so as you get toward the end of this, you get to the final scene. You have the hallway. You put the last, plot point on the scene there. Mm-hmm. You go down this like series of corridors into room 666, and that's where you find the corpse. And the room is flooded. And you see signs throughout the hotel that the hotel was closed due to water damage. And that does link directly to how Pat Main described kids would call that abandoned bunker the Ocean View. I want to say Overview for some reason. Ocean View Hotel and Spa.
Mm-hmm. And Ocean View obviously being the same name as the Ocean View Motel and Control. You know what I mean? And obviously all these connections between them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's flooded. It's flooded as you're walking through. Yes. And you get some flash throughs of the overpass happening where god damn, this entire video.
The last video I think you did it a couple times too.
But the overlap, you start to see Saga's version of the overlap with the flooded bunker. So very interesting collection of scenes that really like makes you start to feel like you're putting something together.
This really opens up the story. It really opens up the story in this one where I feel like it presented so many questions that some of them never get answered. You know what I mean? A couple of them you maybe get an answer by the end of it, but even then nothing's certain by the end of this game.
If New Game Plus actually resolves stuff, Remedy will have achieved like a whole new level of
my god.
Because that'll like it's like, okay, cool. You cleared a bunch of stuff off the slate.
Yeah.
But they've left so many things open for Control too.
Oh my god! Oh, my
because I'm seeing these games as not only the Alan Wake 1 and 2, Control 1 and 2, but also in the lineage of Remedy games, they are telling a contiguous story.
Well, so each game, even though it's not a literal sequel to the game, they all are to a degree a sequel,
right? Especially if they continue doing the thing where the games take place in real time.
Yes. So in effect, each one you are kind of learning more about the previous game, even if it's not in the same.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been the case with all their games.
Yeah, so it's
sometimes it's more abstract, but
but this has been one of the ones that's the most direct about it.
Yeah, and still also kind of like leaving so much open to I wonder.
Yeah, well, you wonder how, but they are.
Yeah, well, you do see things moved forward.
Yeah,
but how?
Yeah, how did we get here? How did I get here?
Another seamless transition, another 24 hours have passed.
You wouldn't even know it, though.
You wouldn't even know it. But after you leave the flooded hotel, you go back out, you go back outside, you have to return to your apartment.
Yes. Back into what's the name of your, what's this, something? Parliament Towers.
Parliament Tower. This is where you get, I believe, to be the final sort of, I don't know, like just exposition dump on what happened to Alice.
Kind of. There is one more time where you go back later, where you get like the final clip of her, but this is where you kind of get to see her full art exposition, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Well, wait, what do you mean? You go back again?
I believe so. Let me double check.
You do.
Yes.
You do.
Yeah. I was right at the end.
No, I forgot. Yes. I wrote it in my notes.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I played that last night. So
okay. Right. So here you are learning more. This, though, is where you get the emails from Barry, I believe.
Yes, you get the most exposition out of any of the times in your apartment in this moment.
Yeah. You learn more about how Alice was feeling during that time. Alice kind of inadvertently took on like I don't know, just like a more subservient role in the relationship, like in terms of like these two artists and their desires and their passions. Like
they touch on it in the first time when you go into her apartment, where she mentions in the video that you on the SD card that plugs into the camcorder that plays VHS recording. She mentions that like she wasn't getting a ton of work, but he would like quote unquote, I think she said, throw her a bone.
Yeah, he'd let her do the layouts for the books.
Yeah, do the artwork for the cover art and stuff like that. Which is, you know what I mean? I mean, that just makes sense.
That's a good gig.
But also it's like
she should be grateful.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I get why she would kind of feel like it is almost like a pity thing. Or
no,
like,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I get why you might start to build some sort of resentment potentially.
Yeah. And also it's just like, I think it's in that moment she says like it was my photography, but it wasn't like my art. Like I wasn't, I'm using my skills, but I'm not really sharing anything about me.
Yeah.
which is a hard place for artists to be, and it's not an uncommon like dynamic in real life, with people who are
trying to make a living as an artist.
Especially when it's like a couple,
Oh yeah, especially in that scenario. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what ruined the Beatles?
There were factors. It was one of them.
No, I mean, come on. There was a lot going on there. But this is also where you see the dark room, I believe, the bathroom dark room.
Yep.
Which also, I don't know. I always like seeing dark rooms in games for some reason. I just think it's cool.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. The lighting's cool.
Yeah.
It feels cool. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's unsettling.
Yeah. And I think this is also a callback, I wouldn't say a callback, but I believe it is in Max Payne 2. You find that the dark room in the bathroom as well, from the apartment across the way that's doing surveillance on you.
Oh, I think so. It's been a while since we played that game.
I'm pretty sure they were like taking and developing the film like right there.
Oh, I'm sure.
As they were also tapping your phone and shit. Pretty short.
Yeah, this is one of the shorter chapters.
Also, like, I noticed something that was like really confusing to me was it would just say like end of part.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was something wrong with I thought it was a graphical issue I was having where it just like maybe that part just wasn't loading in, you know what I mean? To tell me the actual part it was, but it was just like end of part. And I'm like, which part? Part what?
Yeah. Because they never like signified when a part was starting. And chapters also like chapters start at a certain point. There's downtime in the story between chapters.
Yeah, and
which might not actually be the story. I'm not sure how to interpret that, but I would love a clear delineation of when a part starts.
Yeah, well, because like in Saga's campaign, it's a little easier because it'll tell you if you look at like what your objective is. It's like either get to the car to go to this place or get to this location, or optional, explore flooded area. And that's kind of your free time. You know what I mean? Like in between each part.
Yeah, totally.
But there doesn't really seem to be a ton of like, there's nothing like moves the story forward in those sections though. You might find some exposition and stuff like that, but like nothing actually really important
and maybe like logically it's just like a part starts at the top of the chapter, and then when it says part end, that's the end of the part.
Yeah.
But it
I don't know.
It was a little unclear to me. I wish the parts had names, because like I think they yeah.
Even just Roman numerals.
I think that the chapters in Max Payne had parts.
I don't recall.
I'm pretty sure you have like an overarching like chapter, and then like the American Dream or whatever, and then I could be wrong about that, but I'm going off memory. I'm saying I'm pretty sure that's taken from Max Payne.
Right.
You're sure I'm right?
I'm sure you're right. I feel confident.
That's good enough for me.
It's good enough. If he's wrong, don't tell us in the comments.
Yeah, please don't. My ego couldn't handle it. So the next chapter, parts aside, is Initiation 7.
Yes.
Masks.
Masks.
You are back in the studio after, discovering more truths in your old apartment. This time there's water all over the green room.
What's going on here? Strange.
You do your little bazap right into the studio section.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a studio.
Well, you're on stage now.
Yeah.
Now you're like on stage.
Lights out. Mr. Door being real dark and mysterious over
Just
here.
standing there.
He takes his glasses off.
Mean mugging you.
Which is like a big scene. It's like that's other people have said this, but it's like that's where he really looks like Martin Hatch.
Oh yeah, my goodness. Like, I mean, like they got an actor obviously who like at least had some similar physical characteristics. Like the eyes are similar. You know what I mean? And like Lance Reddick was a very like distinct looking man though, so it is hard to like find someone who looks exactly like him. But I think they did a good job.
Yeah,
and like his voice too, the way he speaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, he really embodied like a lot of the quirks of the character really well. Obviously, it's a different character. But it's so. It's just like we're seeing like that aspect of him pretty clearly. Also, they are both black guys, which someone in the comments is bound to say. We're not unaware of that.
That is one of the physical characteristics they share for sure.
But it goes much deeper than that.
Yeah, there's more to it for sure. He's doing a great job. I can't remember this actor's name, but he's doing a
David
great
Harewood.
job. David Harewood.
And he's I believe he's more accomplished in the UK.
Oh, okay. Checks out. It seems like they got a fair amount of UK actors for this.
Seemed that way, yeah. I'm not gonna do background checks. I'm not asking for birth certificates. Okay.
Yeah, right. I don't need your green card.
Listen. Now, Obama's birth certificate. I'm still trying to see that. All right?
I'd like to see it.
I know it's been a long time, but I'm bringing that.
You're bringing it back up.
I'm kidding.
We're bringing back the birther movement.
I'm not. I'm not like that.
That's just simply not how I operate.
I couldn't believe how many people. I was listening to some talk radio programs from around that time recently.
Oh, I can't even.
And I was like, man. Oh,
Yeah.
People were rough, and also like kind of like it was just surprising what stuff any president is criticized for in the moment compared to their legacy, compared to maybe some of the things that they should have been.
Yeah, they compared to the things that they actually were
criticized
doing
for.
wrong, potentially.
The proliferation of like widespread drone warfare is a pretty big thing that comes up for me when I think of the Obama years. Right. But anyway,
anywho,
yeah, it's not like we're now
let's focus on his
finding
tan suit
AI. Like, geez, I don't want to get too deep into it. The AI killer robots are that will,
Oh yeah,
that's where the military is going.
Yeah,
now.
we're getting there. Yeah, that's obviously
there was a new press release recently.
Well, you have to
in the last 2 weeks of some very disturbing.
You have to assume that like any new technology is going to be co-opted for military use.
Yeah, if not like developed by military.
Yeah, and
initially.
then we're seeing it now secondarily as it's coming into I mean, like the public.
Which is a lot like this chapter where you realize that you get a little peek behind the curtain here, and it's not all fun and games anymore.
Warland Door's getting serious, baby.
It's Initiation 7. I'm sorry,
7
masks. I don't know if I said the title.
You did.
Oh,
yeah, I did. I might have said masks. You said 7, I think, and then I finished it for you.
But mask off.
Fucking mask off, baby.
That
was that future?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. It was like
I'm not really into Future. I like Jumpman.
I'm not super familiar with him at all. I don't really even know that song too well. Mask Off. I'm just like aware of the beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's catchy.
Yeah,
Good song. More exposition. Yeah, it's like you are. Like you were.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about Drake and Future. No. So this really set up a lot of interesting things. This is where he says like our Night Springs, I believe.
Yeah, he refers to it as our Night Springs, and
which I think will make a lot more sense once we play the DLCs.
Yes, hopefully. I'm hoping that
I'm just trying to say it.
I'm hoping that there's just a Night Springs DLC.
There is.
That's what it's going to be.
Been confirmed.
Oh, I didn't know that. You probably told me and I just forgot or went over my head. Shit. There's going to be a Night Springs DLC.
There's 2 DLCs.
Yep, I knew there had been 2 confirmed, but I didn't know that they had been confirmed what they were.
One is called the Lake House.
Okay.
Which, we've heard about the Lake House. It was a FBC field office.
Yep, they got attacked. Overrun.
So we're going there. Night Springs has been confirmed that you will play as other characters from Alan Wake 2 in their little Night Springs episodes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I don't know much
exciting.
more about it, but that Remedy, put out little bits of press about it.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
any ETA on that?
No.
Shit.
First update's going to be the final draft, New Game Plus, which I believe also will have photo mode included, which I'm excited to mess around with.
Right.
I've never really cared for photo mode in games, but I tried it on my last playthrough of Control, and I was like getting some cool shots. I was like, yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's about as fun as playing Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, it can be fun in moments. There are fun moments where it's cool to get a picture.
But I also see some people do some really awesome stuff with it. So I think it just depends on like how in tune you are with the tools you have. But who is R? Who, and it's, I don't even want to speculate because I feel we're going to find out in a few months. It could mean so many things. The FBC owns Night Springs.
Yes.
Alan Wake was a writer on Night Springs.
Yes.
Mr. Door is the host of Night Springs. So it's like,
find the one TV recording of him,
is he talking about everyone together? And also, whenever you see Night Springs in this game, not always, but at least once or twice, it's also connected to that weird image of Darling, like,
like kind of looking through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
not every time, but I believe at least twice.
Yeah, it's just very, very curious. I don't know how to make heads or tails of it yet.
I don't know either.
I don't even have a good theory.
It's weird. That one, I'm obviously, like you said, this is one of the few ones where I don't want to get like too into it because I think we will get an answer soon. So I don't know. It opens up a lot of questions, though.
Yeah, it really just, I'm like, wow, I could take that so many ways.
Yeah. And he implies another connection, too, in this moment, aside from just the Night Springs connection. Not a connection between him and Alan, but a connection between him and the story that Alan's writing.
Yes.
That I think we touched on in Saga's story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is that Warland Dorr, I believe, is Saga's father.
It seems to be heavily implied here. Mm-hmm. He also says there's so many people fighting for you. Like armies of people or something. And it's like,
it says armies of
is he
people,
talking about us?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if it's getting that meta, because it gets pretty meta.
I think it's getting that meta.
It could very well be getting that meta.
Do you remember the guy who was a game developer in Alan Wake 1 in the Lodge?
Yes. Yep.
Thomas Emerson.
Yes. And isn't there a copy of the Alan Wake game?
There's a Night Springs game.
Night Springs game. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yes.
So,
which is basically like an Alan Wake game.
Put that here, okay? Mm-hmm. That poster that you could find in the Suomi Hall, where it had the lecture about the films of Thomas Zane, presented by Thomas Emerson.
Okay, of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. No,
and then Remedy last week posted on Twitter that image, and it was dated November 24th, 2023 was the date of the lecture.
Okay.
People thought, oh, is something going to happen in game? No. Nothing did. But they were like, hey, wasn't that Emerson guy a video game developer before?
Right.
And then here it's like he's like the head of the Film Preservation Society or something.
Yeah.
So,
or it's just another example of someone kind of being written into the story in a different way.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but they're making a nod to the game guy, and then in Alan Wake 1, it was a parody character, but he was clearly a Remedy developer. He was talking about making Max Payne.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know.
So
maybe
it wouldn't be unheard of for them to break that fourth wall in that weird way.
Yeah, not at all. Because I was kind of confused by that line too. I didn't know what he meant by armies. You know what I mean? Because I'm kind of like, well, I mean, like there's like a handful of people, maybe a dozen people, you know what I mean, when you get down to it.
Name them.
Like Jesse, Darling, like Zane, Alan, Alice, Rose, Ati, Saga, Casey, Estevez.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
The Anderson brothers
to a degree.
That's 12.
Yeah. There you
okay.
go.
All right.
Yeah. Not in an army though.
You just named all the people.
Pretty much, yeah, it's the cast of the game.
No, they are all working for him.
Yes,
in a way, they're all being, led by him. And one of the manuscript pages even mentions that Dorr is allowing himself to. Earlier in the game, when you see him at the talk show, he's allowing himself to be put in that role.
Yes,
like yes, he's willingly. We talked about like how he's really playing the role intentionally, but. He's he's relinquishing a little bit of autonomy in doing so. It seems.
Yeah. Well, he's trying. It seems,
but consciously doing so.
Yeah, but it seems as though he's like kind of trying to give you a chance, to a degree. You know what I mean, to figure it out on your own.
Right, and that's what he said. Yeah, he says like I'll entertain it for now, but then at the end here, he's just like, I think this is where he says like next time we meet, it's going to be different.
Yeah, and you might not like
what
you see or something like that, something to that degree.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So he's PO'd to Alan for putting Saga in the story. He's warning Alan about something. After you end your conversation with him, like the lights flicker, you like snap out of it. He's gone. Which I think we learn later that he uses the fountain downtown as a portal between realities.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. I don't think.
Yeah, there's something about Saga following Dorr's footsteps in a manuscript page.
I must have glazed over that.
Late in the game, we'll get to soon. Saga she goes to the fountain to go back to the writer's room.
Yes.
So you see Ati after this.
Once again, mopping the carpet, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe so. Or he could be. No, this is where he's in the room where you first met him again.
Oh, he's in the janitor's closet.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not standing in the auditorium.
Right.
Time. Okay.
And he's opened the door that was there. In
Yes.
that room that was blocked before. And he's telling you gotta get some stuff out of the basement again. This is where he kind of like it is just like putting out. Yeah, you're Thomas Zane. I love your movies.
Yeah.
I love this one especially. Blah blah blah. I heard it's back in theaters.
There's a line here I wish I could remember that he said because it was so significant. When you say like, okay, but my name's Alan. You know what I mean? He's like, you keep calling me Tom or whatever. And he says something along the lines of like, something's a something's a something. You know what I mean? I can't remember what he said.
I know you. I don't have it off the top of my head either.
I know. I just played it a couple days ago too. Fuck. It's so, because I feel like there's so much significance behind that where he's basically just saying like, it's all the same. Because you're like, I'm Alan, not Tom. And he goes, Tom, Alan, what's the difference? You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that opens up more questions too, because there's a question: did Alan create Tom? Did Tom create Alan? Are they just reiterations of themselves in a larger story?
You know, did someone else?
Did someone else write them and create them? I don't know.
You get back out into the street eventually. Mm-hmm. You gotta go see Zane's film this time.
You gotta go.
Gives you another phone call.
Mm-hmm. It's Ati's not favorite movie. His favorite movie is Tom the Poet because he's in that one. I'm pretty sure.
He's in Nightless Night as well.
Oh, okay. Is he? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. It sounds like Ati the janitor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
He's there's a whole scene where they're at like the table talking. He's like drinking coffee. Like he has like a sugar cube in a saucer dish.
Oh,
and, like,
yes,
sips coffee from it. And it's like,
it's weird.
I don't know. And maybe that's a thing, but it was very hard to tell. Like it's hard for me to tell. Like, was some of this stuff like Finnish stuff I wouldn't get, or was it just abstract imagery? I couldn't. You know what I mean?
Right. Who knows?
Finnish people would know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you give like deers sugar water also. Like deer, you'd give them like a little sugar cube and a saucer.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
No. I think they like that.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure.
I wouldn't do that.
I've had some bad experiences. You heard otherwise?
I don't remember exactly what happens. I was mixing up this interaction with Ati with the later one where he's like, oh, go down to the basement and get the photos. But that's way later. You have to get the flooded.
Yeah, that's the end of that's at the end of chapter 8.
Right. So
that's why I thought it was Ati that you were just seeing in the theater at this point. I thought you were just seeing him stand by the seats mopping the carpet.
Oh, quite possibly, yeah.
And then I thought you left.
Yeah, the last time you see him is in the janitor's closet.
Yeah, damn it.
But regardless, you got to go see Zane again.
Yes, you have to go see Zane again.
At the hotel.
Mm-hmm. And you're confident he's not going to be as happy to see you this time because you now know that he collaborated with Scratch on Return.
That's your impression of things.
That's what you think is going on. And you're pissed.
I would say you're right pissed.
You're right bloody pissed.
He's apologetic. He's frantic.
Zane?
Yeah. He's like, but you don't understand. Like, you gave up.
Yeah. You stopped writing.
And then you're like, well, don't try anything on me. And he like gets this like devilish look in his eyes. And he starts doing this thing like, you start like phasing back and forth between one another, like swapping roles.
Yeah.
That's got to be super significant.
Yes, for sure.
I don't understand what that means off the top of my head, but it's just like, I think it's implying something about how they are interchangeable.
I think it's implying something about how they're interchangeable. I think it could also be implying, again, it could have just something to do with like the fact that you could see Zane teleporting around earlier also, which just means he has more of a grasp of like the powers in the dark place that he has access to. You know what I mean? Or maybe he's figured out how to access some of these powers, period. That like Alan doesn't know how to or knows how to occasionally, you know what I mean? Or isn't quite conscious of when he's doing it because I only say that because when you're in the mind place as Saga and you're profiling Mr. Scratch, Scratch takes your place for a moment at where Saga was, and Saga fights back, and it's a very similar thing where they're kind of like flashing, you know what I mean?
Damn.
In the same spot. Those could be separate things, but it feels similar to that, so I don't know if it has to do with them being interchangeable or if it's just more of like a display of Zane's prowess or awareness of the dark place.
Well, either way, Zane is ticking Alan off, and Alan's like, "Don't fucking try anything."
Yeah.
He shoots him, shoots him dead, takes the cinema ticket out of his pocket.
Yep.
He's like, I told you not to.
I told you not to try anything. Told you not to do anything. But it was for a moment, Zane was like holding the gun, and the look he had on his face was no longer like that scared, frantic face. It was very much like I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, I have the power now.
I walked away. You need to wait a minute here.
Yeah, my first playthrough, I walked away from the projector. But if you wait there for a minute and you stare at his dead face with the bullet in the forehead.
He wipes off. He starts talking about how that was good drama.
Great drama. Great scene, guys. Good job.
I think we talked about this, but it seems like Zane really is like putting that idea into Alan's head.
That he's like getting Alan along this path, leading him to obviously like what he has to do, quote unquote.
Would shoot himself in the head.
Effectively, yeah. And we mentioned that this is like, again, like in the manner of threes, this is like the third time that he does this effectively, you know what I mean? Like kills somebody. This is the only time that he's like really conscious of it though. And you know what I mean? It's like made the decision to kill.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Feels like it's getting ready for the like real application of it now.
The second time here.
Well, because
there's Casey.
Yeah, this is the second time.
Zane,
yes.
and
this
then
is
himself.
Yes, this is the second time, yes.
Yeah. And then I guess there's a fourth time at the very end.
Yeah, at the very, very end, yeah.
Yeah.
But then he's not.
But by that time
he's not shooting.
He's not?
No, isn't it?
Saga shoots him.
Big ol' Saga.
Big ol' Saga.
Big ol' Saga.
I do.
Big Saga.
I was playing with
one and only
with big head mode turned
big
on.
head mode turned on, yeah.
Yeah, DK mode.
Oh damn it! I couldn't find that.
Oh,
sheet.
no?
No, I couldn't find that code.
I also got the golden gun.
You got golden gun?
It's so good.
Hell yeah, just one shot.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah, sick.
Yeah. I played Alan's campaign as Odd Job.
You're way harder to hit when you're dodge up.
This whole section with the cinema. Like I said many times, I got stuck on a bug here.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be frustrating.
Echo was misaligned. So like after this point, I kind of got like just a little fucked up here. So I'm like my understanding and like immersion my understanding of and immersion in this whole last little run of the game is like a little fucked up because I was like rushing to hit the review embargo deadline and was like frustrated from a bug. So I feel like I didn't really take this all in as much as I wanted to. And it was like so dense. This is such a dense part of the game.
Yeah, but it's also it's not like there's not quite as much going on as there was in like the theater as far as like the story goes. You know what I mean? Like that.
What you mean in the hotel?
Or yeah, sorry, in the hotel. Yeah, when they're putting on the play. Like that feels like there was more moving parts to that. I don't know. I had a hard time following this one too though, and I feel like it was I don't know.
It's the most obtuse one because you have to like go outside the building and like the Casey echoes are like further between almost. Like it was hard for me to follow them.
Well, he's also like much more irate and angry, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Casey's at like the end of he's over it now. At this point, he's questioning things, whether he's real or not, you know what I mean? He's questioning all of it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I guess let's just try to put it, a little timeline here. Casey's investigation focuses on he's aware of the cult. He's tracked down the cult.
Yes.
The cult is operating out of this cinema for some reason. It's not entirely clear to me.
Well, it seems as though they like worship Zane to a degree. And this is just like either this is where they have the copy of Yotongyu.
Right, which they don't know if it's a real snuff film or not.
Yeah.
But they're going to show it or they have it here.
Yeah.
So
it's like a lost film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or whatever from Zane's works.
But they think it was, Casey thinks it was like actually showing like cult murderers on,
like an actual
film.
More like a how-to.
So This plays off of Saga in the second overlap where she's fighting the two officers. And
Thor
here
Milligan.
there's two officers who are, assuming the same roles. They're killing people. They're disposing of evidence in the alleyway.
Yeah, they're dumping bodies down that chute.
And eventually the two officers get murdered. And you do find one of them wearing the moose skull, which you send out through the overlap to Saga to be the key piece in her art.
Right. Ilmo Koskela is also involved.
He's also
in this
involved. He's kind of like taunting Casey.
Yeah.
And like being like, oh, well, you'll meet our Grand Master soon. And
Yeah. Well, because there's a moment where Casey sees the film, and Casey's in the film, obviously. So he's like, there's this moment where I don't know, there's an interesting part in here that I wanted to mention, that I wanted to talk to you about because of something we said in the first part of this video. I know it seemed like no time passed for you guys, but it was a full day for us. You mentioned the thing where does Sam Lake exist in the dark place, and then also there's Alex Casey. You think yes.
The actor Sam Lake, yes.
The actor Sam Lake exists, and so does the detective Alex Casey. And so does the character that Sam Lake plays of Alex Casey. And so I have the theory that, like, in the film, it's Sam Lake that they're sacrificing. Because during this point, when you're kind of in your little loop section, you find, I believe, Sam Lake tied to a chair.
You find Sam Lake, the actor, tied to a chair.
Yeah, ready to be, like, ritualistically sacrificed.
Right, which could be a reflection of what had happened in the film.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the time is in reverse, so
Yeah,
it's hard
weird
to say.
as hell to tell. It's hard to tell because of how time works and because of the way that they will change the story slightly. You know what I mean?
Right. So as you follow the Casey echoes throughout this theater, and basically there's a large open reception hall, which a couple people have mentioned to me looks like the opening reception area of the oldest house. Similar like visual layout with the double doors as you walk in and the counter right up front. I'd really have to see them. I'd have to see a little side by side.
I feel like it's a big stretch.
We just looked it up. They are indeed very similar.
I'm wrong. I was wrong.
Counter right there. Balcony, similar like wood paneling, twin staircases wrapping around.
Yep.
You're asking what would be the significance of that?
Yeah. Like,
Well,
what's the other than just the visual connection? What other connection would be implied in this?
Well, I think the visual connection is implied, and we can pick up on that. And I wonder, is that somehow, because if that theater is like Alan is manifesting that, we know that the dark place is his manifestation basically from his mind.
Yeah.
Does he subconsciously have an image of the oldest house?
Oh, okay.
Like, and if so, how did he get that? Because he's written about the oldest house in the past. Mm-hmm. He wrote about, Jesse. He wrote about Darling. He wrote about Trench.
Yep.
He wrote about the FBC.
Right.
So, if that is coming from his mind.
No, that's fair. God, I wonder.
Because it's just hard to say. But
Well, do you think maybe he's opened one of the doors? You know what I mean? In one of his many, somehow found a way to open one of the many doors that he goes to. You know what I mean? Because he obviously sees his writer's room door, but like when you're in the Ocean View motel or hotel, you see the other doors.
yeah, it's so hard to say.
So like, could in another timeline,
I feel like
or in
anything
another
could have
loop-
happened because he continues to lose his memory.
Yeah, and he just keeps doing the same things. Well, not the same things, but just going through like the same loop over and over again.
Impossible to say, but as you go through, there's the main entrance.
Yes.
And then, bathroom, little back hall area.
Yep.
And then there's a sizable single screen theater with a upstairs area that's a projection booth. And that leads out onto a rooftop area, which is, I found one of the most complex areas to navigate.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's an out back kind of area behind the theater, and you need to do a bunch of the light shifting puzzles.
And you have to like change the scene like 3 separate times to like make a door appear, you know?
Yeah,
Not 3 separate times, but like the door's only there in one of like the 4 scenes that you can create.
But you have to like create the scene, change it, walk over here.
Yeah.
It's really putting all of the mechanics you've used so far together in an interesting way. Mm-hmm. But I like pretty much like just bumbled through it.
Same. I feel like I did at least. Well, mostly because it was like I had such a compulsion to like see every single prompt in every area. You know what I mean? Like I had to see, because in the hotel, it was clear that like if I came back to the
entrance.
Yeah, the entrance and like change the scene, there would be different things each time. Maybe there'd be a new.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of lore to
there'd be
to
something else, or
discover.
maybe new items, or just something, or like another. I can never remember what they're called. The
Echoes?
Echoes. Yeah, sorry, fucking. There'd be like another echo there.
Echo.
So I would end up sometimes like staying in an area and just like switching through each scene and then exploring and then being like, oh shit, which scene was I supposed to be on? You know what I mean? And just kind of like you said, a little bit just bumbling through this part.
Yeah, there were times where I really felt like I had like a real grip on the puzzles and progression. And other times I was just like, oh, okay, I'm kind of just intuitively going the right direction after fumbling for a while.
Yeah.
You know, and not always feeling like, I see the solution and the way forward.
Yeah, because there was one echo like right when you get out there that's like high up, so you clearly have to be higher up to see it. But then like you have to change the scene and that echo disappears, and so you have to change the scene back once you're up in that area.
Yeah, and that's where Ilmo,
Yeah,
the echo version of the character Ilmo is playing, or whatever, however you want to word it.
Yeah,
Like, basically is like, Casey, you've been, it's like a Wicker Man thing. Have you seen the Wicker Man?
no, I have not.
Oh my god.
I've heard it's one of Nick Cage's worst movies.
No, the original.
Oh, the original. No.
It's one of the
haven't
best
seen
films
either.
ever.
Oh, okay.
It's, you would love it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
check
like,
it out.
it's a great supernatural folklore thriller.
Okay, hell
Like,
yeah.
It's a horror film.
Yeah.
But like this is, it's
In the
very
same way
similar.
that this is a horror
I
thing.
would
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
be shocked if the Wicker Man wasn't like a direct influence on this game in one way or another.
Oh, okay. Sick.
Well, regardless, he's basically like, you've been played. You know, you were a role in that. You had a role in this, and you're playing your part perfectly, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And and now that I've done my part, you'll see the Grandmaster soon. And peace. And he jumps off the building.
Yeah, he hops off.
Yeah. Which is the thing for me that goes, okay, that's not a 1-to-1 with reality because Ilmo's alive, but
Yako's dead.
Hako's dead. So hard to say.
And there doesn't seem to be a Yako in this reality.
Nope.
So
Hard to say, but it feels like there's a little thing to poke at there. Eventually, you do go up into the projection booth. You're like, all right, now I need to meet the Grandmaster. Just like Casey is destined to meet the Grandmaster. You're following Casey's footsteps throughout all this.
Which, and I believe at one point it like poses a question to you where it's like, are you just the detective that's been written into the story? Or are you just playing the role?
Well,
at this point, you know what I mean?
So
Alan?
but that in particular comes in a very interesting way.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Getting ahead of myself a tiny bit, I think.
Well, you get a echo from Casey, and he's confronting the Grandmaster, and then the Grandmaster turns and confronts you, and that's when he says, I think he says, here's like an unanswered mystery. If you took on the role of the fictional detective, does that mean that you're fictional?
Oh, yeah, that's what he says. Yeah. Which is a fun...
And then I think that it's not, I'm not sure where it is. I think it's right at the end of Alan's campaign where Alan sees himself in an echo as well. And he's like, wow, I've never seen myself in a vision.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But it's like, well, did you? Was he the Grandmaster somehow? You know what I mean? Because you don't see the Grandmaster's face.
Yeah, and you never know, you never learn who that is. And it seems like the Grandmaster could be the same person who played Scratch / the devil in the play. You know what I mean? It's implied at least they're the same person.
And it often implies that was you in one way or another. So
because you are Scratch is you, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? You're a celebrity who could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so hard to say for sure. Again, but there's definitely something cool going on here. And as you go through, you find, like you mentioned, Sam Lake tied to a chair wearing the moose mask, or he's wearing a deer mask, isn't he?
Deer mask, yeah, it's a deer mask on, just the cultist mask. And he's like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go get that knife over there and stab me.
Yeah, and I think he says like ritualistically or something too.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you go and get the knife. And it seems like
I didn't for a while.
Yeah, I didn't. When I played through the second time, I tried to like get it quicker to see if that changed anything. No, doesn't do anything.
Very odd scene. As you approach him, he runs off.
Yeah, he escapes.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, So I don't know. I don't really know what that.
And you don't see him again though?
No, I don't know what that was about.
I can't really understand that one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
It's weird because one, like it was, you know, it would make everything come full circle if it happened, but it didn't. You do eventually find the 2 dead officers, like I said, wearing the moose mask, and like
they're posed in the exact same way that the parade float is.
Yes,
that you build as Saga in her campaign, where it's Thornton, I believe, is holding the knife, stabbing down at Mulligan or whatever, and Mulligan's down below.
They're all strung up with film.
Yeah, it's very. This is like a very grotesque scene. You know what I mean?
In the projector booth there. When you do go back down into the theater, though, after you can conclude this very odd sequence, Nightless Night is playing, and it's like a 20-minute film or something. It's like 15 minutes. I don't know how long it is.
Oh, okay. I don't think I ended up sitting through the entire thing.
How long? I could be exaggerating.
A chunk of it.
I'm gonna look it up. What do you want to call it?
Let's say 15 minutes. So it's a 15-minute film.
Oh, it is. It is 20 minutes. This one says 16:25. This one's 19:55. This
wrong again.
Looks like it's more about 16 and a half, 17 minutes.
Okay.
The film features elements of the game, but also like there's like a Max Payne kind of thing going on in it at points. I feel like we could do a whole video on just that. It's just like its own. It's like it's hard to interpret a piece of art inside of a piece of art.
Yeah, right. You know? Which is a good chunk of this game at times.
When you go back out, you get another phone call. Not Zane though.
Nope.
It's you. From possibly from the future or just from another time.
Who knows? It's hard to
because I think Alan is like from the future, and he's like time isn't like that. Like,
well, because in if you think about it, if it's from the future, then he'd be out. Maybe, you know what I mean.
So he says like, "Do I get out?" And you go, "Yes and no," and that's by your own choice.
Yep.
So it's like, well, maybe he doesn't get out.
I don't think he does. Yeah. I think. I mean, we'll get into it.
He has to in Elm like 3
pretty fucking soon. You know what I mean? But like, I don't think he gets out.
This is where you gotta go back to the basement.
This is what we talked about earlier,
where you see Ati,
and this is what he says. The thing where he's like, Thomas, Alan. What's the difference? Same thing. You know what I mean?
But you get Alice's photos from the basement. Yep. And you gotta go put them in a shoebox in the plaza
of the Parliament Tower. For some reason,
setting some bait.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like Alan tells Alan to do that.
Yes, you tell yourself to do that.
Which also makes you wonder, well, is that the same Alan then that was calling Rose?
Oh, that's fair. Because Alan doesn't remember communicating with Rose or telling her to do anything. But she's like, you told me to do this stuff. And she is crazy, but also...
Is she crazy? I guess she kind of is.
She's just a little crazy, you know what I mean? But to even be entertaining all of this, you know what I mean? And doing all of it.
Well, after things she'd seen.
Well, yeah, it's fair, yeah. But I mean, like, she's crazy too anyway. Anyone would perceive her as crazy. You know what I mean? I think she's broken.
I can fix her. So Initiation 9 is gone. You need to go back to your apartment one last time. This is where you learn that you were Scratch. And Alice was so tormented and couldn't escape everything that she jumped off a cliff and killed herself.
And filmed the whole thing.
Well, I don't know if she filmed there as much as she still.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, it wasn't a film.
Yeah. But it was like it was a slow film.
It was a slow stop motion film.
I don't know if film has to be a certain number of frames per second to be a film.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Because this is like 2 frames per second, probably. It was like...
Yeah.
Maybe a frame per second. I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say.
Who knows? But yeah, just a quick little slideshow, I guess. Fast slideshow.
Now,
slow film.
I saw that and I went, that's heavy, but also it looked like the cliff that Alan jumped off in the first game.
Yes.
And I went,
yeah.
I think she went to the dark place.
I thought so too. Right here, I was kind of like, I don't think she I don't think she'd be able to communicate with you like this still, and that you'd still be seeing this if she was.
But I do believe that she maybe did do that in reality, and that's what everyone thinks happened.
Oh, I'm sure everybody in the same way that they think you're dead, though.
Right.
Well, they think you're missing or dead. You know,
it's a good thing that she like gave the confessional, because otherwise it would seem like, I don't know, like Alan drove her to it.
Yeah, like drove her to insanity,
drove her to suicide and everything. Because I mean, he did to a degree, but also she like, I don't know, she talked about being bigger than that in a way. It wasn't just like as though Alan sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, my husband was so awful and he was shitty to me, and now I'm gonna. You know,
it was more like realizing she could never get away from the thing that had happened to them.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different. Still, Alan does feel responsible.
Yeah, and arguable.
If it was like, it seems like it'd be a good, Curb Your Enthusiasm episode or something, like arguing the justice of the situation.
Arguing who's at fault.
We only went to Bright Falls because you booked the trip. I wouldn't have booked the trip if you weren't,
Yeah, if you weren't drinking and it seemed to have maybe
I'm only drinking.
Right? So you won't stop writing me about this book.
That's pretty much the end of Alan's campaign.
Bum bum.
We go back to Saga Town.
Won't you take me to Saga Town?
So by the end of the whole scene where Saga battles Scratch,
which we mentioned I think we talked about it
in our first episode.
Yeah. But we'll cover it again quickly.
Yeah, she battles Scratch.
She battles him. They get out there.
She beats him almost.
She's spitting some hot fire.
They put him in a containment unit, and he blasts out of it and possesses Alex Casey, and runs off to Deerfest.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure what to think of this still. I've heard a couple different viewpoints.
Okay.
Pat Maine on the radio says Deerfest is canceled.
Well, I think that's because of the rain. Because there's also talk the entire time of how it's supposed to rain the entire time. I remember, like, right when you get there, it's like the weather report. They're like, "What can you tell us about the weather for Deerfest?" And it's like some old guy's like, "Rain."
It's Tapio.
Like, oh, okay, yeah. He's like, "Rain," and they're like, "Well, is there any signs of hope? Is it going to let up?" And he's like, "No."
Well, that's also like, in the first game, the Dark Presence was represented by a storm
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. And, sometimes a hurricane, sometimes, more just like rain and thunder and lightning. But it was, the storm. And I think it was the same idea here. The storm was coming to cancel Deerfest. But this chapter is called Return 8 Deerfest. So Deerfest does happen, but it's like what I can't tell is that in the dark place, or is that are you seeing the actual physical boundaries of the AWE?
I think you're seeing the physical boundaries of the AWE.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All right. I've heard other people mention that, and I go, I never thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
That's what it feels like to me, because it feels like this is a very localized thing. Like this section of the story is only about Deerfest. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not about anything else, because it's so important.
It's not growing yet.
Yeah. It hasn't gotten to
But Casey, as the Dark Presence, as Scratch, picks up Saga, throws her into the lake.
Yeah. Just
and so then you're Alan.
Yeah.
You're Alan. You're dressed like the guy from The Walking Dead.
My favorite part before that, though, before you get to there, is Tor and Odin. Just like, you see Tor and Odin just be like, we'll be right back. And they just walk straight into the lake. Like, it's no big deal.
They said they got to go to their next gig.
Yeah.
Which is that gig the musical? Like, what was that? Was that
Right. Is that them playing as the old gods on the talk show?
Yeah.
I think or maybe it's to try to help Saga out, even though I don't believe they do.
Yeah, it's hard to say what their next gig is in time. You go to Estevez. She's sitting there. She's like, well, I guess I got no choice but to trust you on this.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right. I hope you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Because Estevez at this point is like, Jesus Christ, I got nothing left.
Like we definitely have, procedures.
Yeah. But gonna be honest with you, none of it's worked so far.
and so this was a very funny section of the game for me, because essentially what Alan realized he needs to do is, I gotta go down to Deerfest, and I gotta find a copy of Return.
Yep.
I have to look at the book and then go back to the writer's room and finish the ending and change it and try to fix everything.
Yep.
first you gotta get back to Bright Falls. You're at Cauldron Lake. And you get a section where it's got like the old Alan Wake sound cues and some of the score.
Yeah. I noticed that. I noticed like a couple of things. I don't pick up on quite as much of that as you do because I don't have.
I didn't pick up on it at all. Someone else mentioned it to me.
Oh, okay.
One thing I did pick up on though was she goes, "You're gonna need weapons. Here's everything we got."
Yeah.
And it's like I believe it was literally like one clip.
Yeah. It's like I think you get the pistol and the shotgun,
and you get the shotgun with 2 bullets, right?
Yeah, and that's like it.
Yeah, so you got like 6 to 8 shots.
I'm like, you guys were just hurling ammo at me a moment ago.
Unlimited ammo, which I didn't collect all of.
No, I was like, well, can I go back to these crates to get the ammo from them? No.
And I would if she was like, not much ammo left, but here's what we got. But she goes, we got you one of everything.
Here's everything we've got.
And it's like I'm pretty sure I read they fixed that in a recent patch.
Oh, okay, they give you more. Okay, yeah. I was like, what is?
Because you're about to go into like a lengthy combat section.
Yeah, and you don't have very much ammo at all.
And it starts you with no ammo.
Yeah.
Like your inventory doesn't carry over here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, you don't have any of the stuff that you had from your the dark places, Alan.
Yeah.
And you don't get anything in the one time you play as Alan in Saga's campaign earlier, aside from like maybe 3 shotgun shells and a couple flashlight charges. So even if it did carry over, you wouldn't have anything.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you start that with just 2 shots as well.
Yeah, and then you can pick up one more.
Yeah, there's like one ammo
For whatever reason, and it's 1 shotgun shell. Instead of 2, it's 1.
It's because you got run.
I know. No chance.
when you get down to Deerfest, you see the barrier, you cross it, and then you're upside down. Whoop. It turns things around, which was interesting to me.
Yeah,
if that was just a camera trick or what, but if it does, it would be very funny and as above, so below kind of thing.
Right.
You are dressed in your clothes from earlier now,
and it's also very funny because you're like, oh, not quite what I was expecting, because it's like a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah,
and everyone's just having a great time,
and everyone's wearing the deer masks.
Yeah,
because it's
everybody.
Deerfest. Everyone's talking about how good Alan Wake 2 is.
Oh, yeah, that's all they're talking about. They're like, Return's so good. Oh, my God. Everywhere you go. But you also can't find a fucking copy anywhere.
Yeah. But you go all the way to the back.
Which took me a minute to figure this out. I went into the diner. I went into the park. I wandered around.
Was there stuff to find?
Not really. Like in the diner, I believe in the diner, there's a very unsettling video of Ilmo doing a Coffee World commercial or like an ad for something. And when you're looking on the screen, you can vaguely see the outline of Yako next to him, like almost like an aura. And he keeps occasionally being like,
I do remember
and
that.
just having to like
that
struggle
rough.
through it. It was so sad. Such a sad. I think that's really the only thing you can discover.
Well,
that's the only thing that I remember.
There's a cardboard standee that's holding a copy of the book. You get it. The mob suddenly turns.
This is so scary.
You just got to run.
As you're grabbing it, it's like you're seeing them all turn and
They're
look
all
at you.
like, it's pain. Whack 'em. You gotta. You basically have like a QTE section here, a classic Quantic Dream chase section.
Yeah,
I'm slipping on carts of oranges.
Yeah, it's like it's much smoother though. Thankfully, no chickens for me to.
I
trip
did fuck
over.
this up though, because like you just go the wrong direction, you're done. You gotta like really got one way to do this.
But it is I believe it's like the same path that you took to escape earlier when you're Alan.
Yes,
to a degree,
which is funny because you are in a loop there.
Yeah, true.
Even though it doesn't really feel like it.
Yeah.
You know? You eventually do get back to the nursing home. You want to get in, but I think the door's locked or something. You got to turn the power back on to get in.
Yeah, I believe you have to like go in through the wellness center or something and then get...
I don't think you actually turn the power back on. I think you do just have to go through the wellness center.
Yeah, and like you have to go around the back or whatever, and then you get in that way.
There's a secondary entrance.
Through the jukebox room.
Right, the back porch there.
Yeah, put the drums on.
And you see Rose, and I thought this was interesting that she's in her diner outfit again.
Yeah, she's back in her diner outfit. Maybe she just got done her shift. Maybe she's getting ready to go
Maybe.
in.
Hard to say. He's like, Rose, what are you doing here? Which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't know where she's working, but also he was writing about her working there.
Yeah, but it's also hard to know which Alan was writing about her working there.
Right. It's also hard to know where here is.
And he's not reading the manuscript pages. It's Saga who's reading them. You know what I mean? Throughout the game.
Yeah, but he's writing them. I don't know.
Yeah, but we don't know which version of him. So it could be a version that he doesn't remember.
Right.
And if
right.
since he's not reading it, he would have no idea. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. The Rose is like, goofy ass bitch. I'm here to rescue you.
I'm here to save you, dude. You know it.
You told me. And he's like, no, Rose.
I didn't.
She goes, okay, of course you didn't.
Gotcha. You didn't say
big
anything
dog.
to me.
Hey, whatever makes you feel like you're important. Alan. She offers you
Some dome.
no, she's like, you gotta get upstairs and start writing. You go upstairs, the spiral door room, which you couldn't get into before. Ati's like, I'll clean your floor. And you're like, okay, thanks, and he lets you in. Right?
Ati says, you're going to need a mop and bucket when I'm done with you. Yeah, he's like, now's the time, basically.
And he basically says something like, oh, like, you know, we're getting it ready for the visitors. I kept your room nice, you know.
Yeah.
In anticipation of company or whatever. So you go in there.
It's just the writer's room.
It's the writer's room. You gotta sit down and start writing.
You got to get to work. You have to start scratching out the story.
Yeah.
You're scratched now.
You get to return 9. Come home. You're back as Saga.
I'm going home.
Saga's waking up because she was thrown into the lake. Now she's in her mind place.
And she's like,
But she can't leave it.
No, I tried all the doors. You know what I mean? There's like 2 doors in there. Nothing doing. If you hold the back button or whatever, you just right back in there. She's like, what's going on?
She's in a dark place manifestation of the mind place that she has to literally like look around and find darkness and like blast it away, but also blast away a series of intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, she has to
on
like
the case
will
board.
herself out of it.
Yeah.
She just has to like be mentally strong enough. And the case board gets dark.
Yeah. Yeah, basically saying like it's her fault that, you know, she's a bad mother. She killed her own kid, basically. She had her partner killed, all due to her negligence. And then one thing that a lot of people were very upset by, or at least claim to be upset by on the internet, is that she's like, I'm not, you know, just another white asshole trying to tell me what to do. I'm talking about like Alan Wake in the story.
Oh, yeah. Trying to control my life.
Everyone's like, if Alan Wake called her the N-word, you'd be mad. And I was like,
yeah,
well,
you're right.
I mean, okay. I mean, first of all, you're okay. That just like when I see that kind of thing, I go, okay. Well, one, I know who I'm dealing with, so
not even.
This conversation is not going to be super productive, but I'm going to entertain it for a moment.
Right, you go. All right. I don't. I'm gonna answer your question.
But I want to just mention because it's been brought up so much in the comments and shit.
And you know, when I heard it, I was like, someone's gonna say something about that. Like people are gonna be upset about
Eat
that.
shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like, yeah,
the line is spoken. If you have the dialogue identifiers, the names turn on in the subtitles.
Yeah.
It says other saga.
Yeah.
It's literally a manifestation of her worst thoughts, fears, insecurities, and then it says something offensive.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's because the idea is that like she is such at no other point in the game has she brought up anything like this, because she is such a strong person who has like paved her own way and put in the work. You know what I mean? That it's like she wouldn't even want to blame something that happened on something like that. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would.
All of those statements are the antithesis of how she actually feels.
Exactly. And also, if it wasn't, that's not like that wild of a statement. You know what I mean?
Not really.
No. And it's also like, well, kind of, yeah. It's like if you want to, this is also, I don't give a shit. Nobody's gonna
watch this.
Nobody's gonna watch this. And if you're really mad about it, I don't care. But it's like, yeah, white guys do kind of run everything. You know what I mean?
I thought it was the Jews that ran everything.
Those are mostly white guys.
Oh, I gotta update my wiki.
The Jews are white too.
No, but I mean, just obviously, no, it's a joke.
We're joking around,
But yeah, it's very obvious that, like, okay, well, one, she's a woman who has clearly gone through years of law enforcement.
Yeah. And she's mixed race.
Mixed race. A woman.
A woman, yeah. So clearly
I'm sure she's faced some shit. To act like her character would not have faced like racially motivated adversity,
or like sexist, you know what I mean? Like anything at all. Like,
but people are like, well, she had every opportunity, the same as men did. Like, look, she's an FBI agent. Like, nothing's holding her back. It's like, yeah, but you don't know how those people sometimes act towards someone like her coming into their territory.
Yeah, like Casey's not the, you know what I mean? He's not the stereotypical cop or law enforcement person you're going to deal with. He seems to be a bit more.
No,
the fact that he's like, Anderson, you're good at this. Lead the case.
Just like, just live a little.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do.
Get out in the world a little.
All right. Yeah, I know.
I don't know what to tell you.
I know people try to paint things very black and white. I mean, in a binary way, not in a racial way.
No, I know what you're saying.
But it's like, yeah, man, like military, law enforcement, like it is hostile toward minorities.
Period. And then it's also historically difficult for women to like reach high ranks in those, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In those fields. So it's like.
So for her in a moment of weakness.
To get mad.
To have that as an invasive thought.
Yeah.
Is more than fair, I think.
I love that. What if Alan called her the N-word? You'd be mad then. You're like, yeah.
I go,
those aren't comparable.
It's all racism, dude. It's all racist. This game is too woke. It's like, you should fucking sit on it, moron.
I know. Get over it. Jesus fucking Christ.
I try really hard to like be like
I see you in the
people,
comments,
but like it's so funny how like they're just such clowns. And there's I always try to give the benefit of the doubt though, because I've definitely said ignorant stuff in my life, and I've had people just be like, hey, have you thought about this way? I go, wow, I didn't. And
admittedly, in a lot of these scenarios, it's like it's YouTube in the comments. They could be like a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
it
totally.
Could be a 14-year-old. And like, not to say that I didn't have problematic opinions when I was a teenager, like when I was like 12, 13, you know what I mean? Like, for sure. You know what I mean?
I just treat people with, a sense of like open-mindedness and respect until they don't deserve it.
Yeah, until they show no effort at all.
Yeah, and then
no desire.
Yeah, all right, well.
I'm done now.
Sit on it.
Yeah.
So this is all pretty damn dark. Like we said, I mean, even like there's like the photos of Logan like getting obscured, and it's like I don't know, it's very heavy. It's very heavy, and then
you have to like it's like something like I think 14 times you have to put on the plot board. You killed her. She died because of you. She died because of you. Before you're like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I stopped twice because I was like, how many times is it going to make me do this? But then I did the thing where you can click and see. You know what I mean? You can click on like the prompt, like the question on the investigation board, and it shows you how many empty spots there were. And I was like, okay, there's a limit to this. I'll keep doing it.
Oh, that's funny. Did this remind you of anything?
I feel like it should have. It didn't. No.
It's the end of Control.
I'm getting there soon. It's been so long now.
Oh, at the end of Control, you need to go through a ritual, 3 times of a ritual.
Okay.
Where you basically have to conquer your own psyche and your own negative perception of yourself and your situation.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness, yeah.
And when you break that cycle is when you free yourself. It's exactly what Saga's doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're both para-utilitarians. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. But it's just funny that Remedy basically just redid their
the same thing.
The same end game.
I mean, hey, if it ain't broke,
it's just so funny because like this might sound stupid, but trust me, I'm older than you. Okay, I know what I'm talking about.
Everyone who's watching this, he's older than you.
Yeah, and if you're older than me, you should listen to the youth. Okay,
you could learn a thing or two.
I think a lot about how some sequels or new installments from a certain developer, whether they're direct sequels or not. Sometimes you want sometimes if like a sequel doesn't iterate enough and like change enough, it kind of is seen as a failure if it's kind of too samey.
Yeah.
But like Mario 1 to Mario 2, Mario 2 to Mario 3, even Mario 1 to Mario 3, core concepts very consistent.
Yeah.
You know? It truly for me wasn't until Mario 64 that the Mario series like broke and,
Really
and
changed,
like
yeah.
I was like, okay, this is significant.
Oh, you can say that for like anything, even like the early Zelda games. You know what I mean? Even up until like you go
Just Ocarina of Time,
Zelda 1 through 3, and then you go Ocarina of Time, the Majora's
same.
Mask. You know what I mean? And then
you know, the movement's not as important in those games. You know what I mean? Like the platform and everything in Ocarina of Time, I think is not totally different from like the navigation and puzzles you'd have to do in something like Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Or Link to the Past.
Yeah. It wasn't super heavy. It wasn't.
And they kept the same structure.
Yeah.
Like,
very same. Yeah.
the
Very similar.
dungeon, find the Triforce pieces, do the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just interesting because like now, like when I look at Mario 1, Mario 3, I go, those are sequels. You know, I can see it. But not like, you know, looking at like Control's gameplay to like Alan Wake 2's gameplay, it's like
wildly
they feel like they're in
different.
very different lanes.
Well, they're wildly different.
But then they so much of their core mechanics under the hood are like thematically and mechanically like identical.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. How I don't know. There's something about generationally how the similarities are more masked.
Yes.
But really like a lot of good games are just like holding on to a good thing and doing it for quite a fucking while.
Well,
it's
just
funny when someone can pull that off with such skill.
Reskinned or the presentation's changed up a bit. You know what I mean? But like they are just. I mean, we talked about it. I think when we talk about Resident Evil 4 and like the remake a lot, where it's like a lot of games have just kind of what Resident Evil 4 did. They were just like, oh, that was good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of that's just been happening since then. Kind of. You know what I mean? And in any survival horror game. You know what I mean? And in any third-person shooter game, really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I like seeing that stuff.
Yeah, I like when I see it and I can recognize it. I go, damn, you gave it to me twice and you made it work both times.
Yeah.
That's very skillful.
Because I didn't even notice it, and I'm playing Control right now. I'm not at the end, obviously. You know what I mean? But
also, Jesse, you use the controller to like move around. Saga, you also do that too.
You're in control of both of them.
When you get out of here, you get a phone call. It's Alice telling you to get the photos.
Yes.
The photos that Alan placed. Alan called himself to tell him, go do the photo thing. Alice called Saga to say, go get those photos. Are a version of Alice and a version of Alan in direct communication?
Are they working together, maybe? Because she's entered the... Are we maybe seeing a glimpse into the next loop?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Maybe
I
this
think
isn't
so.
reaching back from the next loop.
Hard to say, but it's just interesting that they both called.
Yeah.
You also passed Tim Breaker on a bench.
Yep. He's hanging out.
And he's like, oh, this is what I was going to give you.
Yeah, he finally gives you the fucking manuscript page he's been
Which
holding.
I think the manuscript page is how she knows how to leave.
Yes.
I think that the page describes it. So you go, you grab the photos. It's a bullet of light in the clicker.
Right.
You leave through the fountain. You go back into reality.
Right. Real quick, I do want to say also, Tim the whole time is assumes that Door put him to the dark place to like either protect Saga so that he wouldn't give it to her or whatever. But he clearly put him in there so that he'd be there to give it to her at that moment.
Right, but why, you know, and I guess that's just like part of Door doing his part for the story willingly.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
More than anything else. I don't think it's what Door necessarily would have done himself, you know what I mean? But it's clearly what he has to do.
Yeah. That tracks for me.
But you get the magic bullet.
Yeah, and you go back into reality, and then you're in the writer's room, and you got to put your plan into action. But, you know, before this, you have like a long conversation with Wake, like through the profiling.
Oh, yeah.
And you're both like, of course, it is the story, our story, Return.
Yeah,
we are writing the story together. It seemed like a bad like anime dub.
Yeah, it was a little. This part was a little corny for me. I mean, it was like for two people who have acted so well throughout the rest of the game, it felt weird to see them do that, like deliver those lines. And
I understand it's because it's the subconscious, but it doesn't make sense because
when you talk to Tor and Odin, they have emotion. You know
right.
what I mean?
And so I just assumed Alan would too, seeing as how he's
also a para-utilitarian. And he's somebody who could,
yeah,
or at
but
least
maybe,
Saga
you know,
wouldn't be speaking that way to him.
Right. That also was odd.
That was the part that was weird.
That was I'm sure that I just don't get it.
Maybe,
but I was like, well, that doesn't really.
It felt weird to me too.
It was like.
I was kind of chuckling.
Out.
I was like laughing at it a little
bit. But I liked
you know
it.
What I mean?
I like stylistically. I was like, I'm confused, and this is like a little bad, but I really like it.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't like take away from it for me, but I noticed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the idea is, go to the writer's room. Saga and Alan lure Casey Scratch, and then provoke the Dark Presence to leave Casey and
well, they do it through the writing. I think Alan writes that Casey isn't like a suitable host for the Dark Presence,
right?
And so like he can't stay in there.
But
so
he also has to provoke him.
Yes, yeah,
because he's like, come on, come home.
Yeah,
and that's when he said come home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think because Alan has realized at this point that he's been Scratch the whole time.
Right, but if the Dark Presence is Scratch and Alan is telling the Dark Presence to come home, was the Dark Presence just Alan's own thing? You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
maybe it's just the evil within him.
And does it exist beyond that? I'm trying to say, like, is the Dark Presence born from Alan entirely?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Was it something that existed prior to Alan? Without Alan, would the Dark Presence exist?
And without Zane, would the Bright Presence exist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or would either exist without Alan? Because like, if Alan's like writing all this shit, then like the whole like all the drama of the Bright Presence and the Diver and Barbara Jet and Hart, like all that could have just been Alan writing it all, and then the story got out of hand.
I feel like it's a real chicken or the egg. You know what I mean? I feel like it's hard to say in that scenario.
It's hard to say, yeah.
Because it seems like the Dark Presence also affected other people before Alan. You know what I mean?
Who?
What do you mean?
Who?
Oh, who? Oh, I mean, like the people in
I know I said it kind of like,
yeah.
Who?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say more. Sorry. The people in the Hartman's Lodge. They'd all been affected by the Dark Presence.
That wasn't before Alan, though. They're all in Alan's story already at that point.
Well, yeah, I suppose like Tor and Odin are there, and Tor and Odin aren't part of Alan's story. They are characters included in it, but it seems as though they exist outside the bounds of it as well.
It seems like it, but I don't know.
I know. It's hard to know what's reality. Because then
the thing is, they talk about knowing Tom and stuff from back in the day.
Yeah.
Which would mean
that they're separate people.
Well, no, but even if they're separate people, if they are separate or the same, I guess in this theory, Zane and Wake are two sides of the same coin somehow.
Yes.
Because they call him Tom and they go, Tom, but Tom was like nothing with the bright with the Dark Presence and the Andersons seems to predate Zane going into the lake in 1970. Because that was like 1976 was when they fought it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know like that maybe the idea of the Bright Presence is inspired by some kind of folklore or something, but everything with like the shaded individuals and the Dark Presence, all that stuff seems to be happening after that point in 1970 where, supposedly Zane went into the lake.
Well, it brings into question if just anything that's come out of Bright Falls is a result of that, which explains why Saga, even though not all of the story is true and everything that happened, she did come from there, and she was born after Zane had done that. You know what I mean? So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it entirely.
Because it's hard. Well, the biggest thing for me is the area of effect. You know what I mean? The reach of this thing. That's the biggest thing that comes into question.
Right, because the Dark Presence wants to use the clicker to.
Yes, but the question is like, how much of the world does it affect? You know what I mean? Is it localized? Like it's localized.
It is.
But then it seems as though it's affecting David and you know what I mean, Logan in West Virginia.
I just don't know how real they are.
I know. They bring so much into question. Is my point. Like that's because we don't know for sure if it is localized, because the FBC says that as though they know for sure.
Yeah.
But they just say AWEs, Altered World events, are usually localized
Right.
events.
And the clicker could have done anything.
Yeah.
That's another factor where it's like, who knows when or how the clicker was used.
Yeah, we don't know what it did. We
Yeah.
don't know what it does ultimately.
Not entirely.
No, not fully. We don't fully comprehend
Right.
what it does.
We've seen 2 instances of it basically.
Yes,
Who knows? There's a lot of time in between.
Exactly. And there's also we don't understand the full breadth of what it may have done in those moments, you know. what I mean?
Right.
We can
So-
see immediate effects, but we don't know if that's the only thing.
Regardless, we don't, whatever that means, come home, the dark presence enters Alan. Saga shoots him with the bullet of light.
And it's the opening scene of the game, baby.
And he says, back to the and it's back to the beginning. It's
yeah.
the beginning of the game again.
Yeah, that's it. The game opens with him shot in the head. Which is why I don't think Alan escapes the dark. I think maybe he temporarily I don't know, man.
The other reason why, okay, I have some doubts about whether that barrier Alan entered in Bright Falls was the AWE barrier or going to the dark place. He goes, took me 13 years to get out of the dark place. Now I'm going back in again.
Oh, that's true. He does say that. I don't know, because it doesn't feel like a regular overlap. You know what I mean?
I know, it's so strange.
Overlap usually has to
And
involve the
is
water.
it just is it because the dark presence has the clicker at that point that it's able to alter things?
Maybe it's
and maybe
manifested
like
the
it
dark
takes
place.
like the dark place threshold and was able to like move it out, It's hard to say.
maybe it manifested the dark place with the clicker.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Because I can read it both ways due to that, because
Yeah.
that line is like makes it very unclear like where he's actually entering. It looks like the boundaries of an AWE. It makes sense that we know they affect proximity. Blah 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 blah. He wants to grow the AWE, but also Alan basically says, "I'm going into the dark
I'm going
place
back
now."
to the dark place. Yeah,
In so
I remember
many
that
words.
line now that you say that. Yeah.
And then he looks like he looked in the dark place when he goes in there. Hard to say.
Fuck.
And then Saga calls her family. Phone keeps ringing. We don't get an answer.
Yep, no
Casey
idea.
goes, "Is it over?" We don't know. End. Credits. Secret message. Alan, you're doing really great. Thank you. Thank you for playing our game. Congratulations. It's me, Alice Wake, your wife. I'm not dead. You're looking at me like you don't know this.
No, I don't. I didn't get a secret message.
Did you watch the credits?
I like sped through them. I held like the fast
You didn't
forward
see the
button.
final message from Alice?
No, I don't think so. No. We gotta watch it right now. I was like, get it up on your get it up on your fucking iPad. Oh wait, no, yes, I did. Yes, because she goes, "I'm Alan. I'm not dead." When I because that's what she tells you. She tells you she hopped in the Cauldron Lake. Yes, or she's going to hop into Cauldron Lake.
I think she did.
Yes.
And she goes, she's talking about there's two
Sorry.
choices, ascension or
Sorry.
destruction. And we're working toward ascension and we're almost there.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the final draft could be a great thing. But also, the thing that I think is so crazy about all this, that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, she talks about we're going to ascend. It's Wake and Alice ascending.
Yes.
But the story, the converse story, was the story of Barbara Jagger and Zane. And even at the end of Alan Wake 1, the dark presence like does a little like trick on you as you're approaching the cabin, and you hear like Barbara Jagger like being like, "Zane, no, like don't kill me," and but it's Alan and Alice's voices at that point, and they're reenacting Zane's murder of Barbara Jagger, the dark version of Barbara Jagger.
Yep.
Okay. So Alan and Alice are talking about ascending, but Zane and Barbara descended. That was their escape. They descended and they went into the baby universe, and they
because they're the divers.
yeah. It's very interesting to think about these like how that was the story of descending and destruction, and
But also, you could argue that maybe the reason that it has to be a story of ascension this time is because that clearly didn't work. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah. I just think it's interesting that it's like it's it's just the mirror of the same thing.
Well, I think it's because they have to. He mentions multiple times you have to stay in constraints within the constraints of the story. You can't change it that much, which is why I think that what you're seeing take place in New York City, you know what I mean, is just a different version of the story that you're seeing.
Yeah.
That's why you see the same characters and stuff, but obviously that's not really what happened to them. You know what I mean? And they have very different lives in the version that you're seeing as Saga. You know, so I don't know. It's interesting.
New Game Plus, we'll have to have another talk.
I know. Well, because the theory that when we're hearing from Alan and Alice, it is just them collaborating later in the Dark Place. You know what I mean? In another loop. And I think that this is just, like you said, this is just the beginning of another loop for Alan.
Right.
The end
That's
of
why
this game is just him starting another loop.
I think this version of Alan that got the message from Alice is maybe the version of Alan that called himself to be like, hey, go do this.
Yes. Agreed.
You know?
It seems like because it seems like
he'll forget again. But.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Because this is the closest he's ever gotten. And this is the first time he's ever remembered anything through the loops. You know what I mean? Because you see him go through a couple loops throughout Alan Wake 2. And it's the only time he remembers. It's because that blows Zane's mind. That blows, you know what I mean? Like Tim is surprised the first time, even though Tim hasn't been there nearly as long. So.
Right. Yeah. He's like, oh, you're starting to remember.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked was when he was like, huh, who are you?
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding, Tim. I was like, it was nice to hear Wake be happy.
Yeah, just like a little moment of brevity to be like, oh, a friendly face. You know what I mean? Like to be, Because he's clearly been trapped there for, you know what I mean? To him, potentially forever. You know what I mean? It seems as though he has when he gets out and they're like, it's been 13 years. He's like, what? He has no concept of time. You know what I mean? Like no perception of it in there whatsoever. So like it could effectively be an eternity for him.
Effectively.
So it's nice to see him still have a little bit of, you know, still in there. Still got it.
Still has soul. That's it. I mean, that's the game.
That's the game.
I don't know what more to say right now. I'm mostly just I'm ready for the next pass.
Yeah, and I say let's do another one of these after we play the DLCs. Yeah, for sure. So we'll have another
New Game Plus and DLCs.
Yeah, so I'd say this isn't the end of the discussion.
Probably 3 more episodes.
This isn't the end of the discussion by any means, but for now,
it's
this
a pause
is all
in
we
the
have.
discussion.
For now, this is all I have to say about Alan Wake 2. Because I don't know.
You mean this past 10 hours?
This past 10 hours is all. That's it. Not much. Just a little bit to say about it.
But I've
all I
said
got
my
to
piece.
say. I've said my piece.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the other stuff that we could speculate on. I'm hoping we get.
Yeah, I don't want to put too much like misinformation out there or ill-formed theories because it's like, well, it's all going to change so soon that I just don't.
We'll
feel
have
confident,
answers
like,
soon.
Yeah, well, or at least we'll have new questions.
Yeah, or at least more of an idea of what the answers could be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We may be limited to a few options. You know what I mean.
Well, you want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up, baby.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching this. It's been a great time talking about this game. If you like this, we have a lot more episodes on other games.
A ton of them, yeah. More than I remember.
There's like 20 hours of Remedy stuff.
Sometimes I forget about them.
Yeah, we've been doing it for like 2 years.
Completely forget we played games until I see the video title or I'm reminded of it.
Well, you know,
and it all rushes back to me. Be
sure to like and subscribe. We got channel memberships and the Patreon if you want to support the channel directly.
We also have a second channel you can check out.
You have a second channel. It's got some stuff on there.
Nothing crazy, not a ton of subs.
Nothing too crazy
for the real fans.
And that's it for now.
Yeah, we'll have more stuff coming at you.